All right, in 3, 2, 1.
Oh! This is the podcast!
Are you telling me that you built a time machine? Out of a podcast.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and
podcast.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Hey everyone, welcome to Get to the Podcast. That's Get to the Podcast with the number 2. My name is Diego D'Souza.
I'm Nick Gambino.
And I'm Neil Carson.
And I love that new intro.
Yeah, boy.
That shit sounds tight.
That remix.
Yeah, that remix. That means we didn't touch it and we had a professional do it.
We got Puff Daddy.
Yeah,
Puff Daddy. We tried to get Mary J.
Diddy?
Blige on it.
Yeah.
But she's on that Oscar, campaign right now, trying to win that Oscar, and she's like, nah.
Yeah.
Is she trying to win an Oscar?
Yeah, she just got nominated for Mudbound. I was like, Mary J. Blige was nominated for an Oscar? That blew my
I know Get Out
mind.
got nominated. Anyway,
Anyways,
I'm derailing.
by the way,
derailing.
yeah, so I turned Mariah Carey down twice. Anywho. All right, so why is that beat, why is that intro sound so awesome, Nick?
Well, because we actually have the man, the genius behind the new intro on the podcast today. Let's see, he goes by many names. Spaceship is one. That's actually his name. It's on his birth certificate. Spacey, no connection to the infamous Kevin Spacey. Spencer Shipton, you can call him that. You can call him Abe Vigoda or even Abe Bagoda if you're into the whole, changing names thing. Or Alf, we can just call him Alf.
Alf?
We can just start making up names. What are other good names?
His real name is Jose Cantero Conveno Cocina Comada Cadena Sequeta Vecina Condena.
Wow.
Jesuero.
That's why we got you on this podcast, the Latin flavor. So, I think I'll just call you Spaceship or Spacey.
I'm down.
We're going to go between Spaceship and Spacey. So, what's up,
Yeah, that
Spacey?
works.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I apologize in advance for my Sundance sick, but I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, you're at Sundance right now, right?
Yeah, I'm actually looking out on some mountains, so it's some great visual stimuli during this podcast. It's very snowy. But yeah, we've had a great time here. The festival is technically over. We're going to try and see some films today because the award-winning films screen the day after the awards.
Right.
So, but yeah, actually, we were at the awards ceremony last night, and we were able to see some cool things. We saw Nick Offerman playing bass on this song. Yeah, it was crazy. Ethan Hawke walked by us a dozen times. Octavia Spencer was there. A bunch of people were there, but the most important person was obviously me.
The most modest
But no
person
one
in the
knew
room,
that.
obviously.
There you go.
Well, to my wife, I think I was the most important person in the room.
Aw.
That's the one that
Aw.
counts. That's the one that counts.
Yes. So,
I will say, the way that I know Nick is through my wife. They're friends, and they actually have worked together on film projects, and so yeah, this is an honor for me, though. Beyond that connection, nepotism.
nepotism. Yeah, she's actually was the maid of honor in my wedding.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Did you know that
That's
even? You knew that, right?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I actually forgot that, I'll be honest, until you just said that. I was like, oh shit, that's right. In 2005.
Wow.
I've been married for a minute. But yeah, that's right. And we did that film together, Names on the Wall, which we talked about a couple times here on the podcast. That I wrote the script for Names on the Wall. Your wife directed it. You both edited it. You were also really kind of did the music supervision for it, right?
Yeah. So that's my connection music-wise, is that all of the sounds that you hear, I basically had to oversee all of that, and I don't understand how any movie ever gets made ever. Especially on the sound side, there's so much work.
Oh yeah.
You have to really cradle what you're seeing on the scene and make sure it has the necessary thrust as well. We won't talk about thrust, but it's a family podcast, isn't it?
That's right. Thank you. We had to clean it up. We're going to have to bleep that out. You can't say thrust or pelvis. Don't say pelvis.
Oh, wow.
So I shot from the pelvis. No, I think, I have a greater appreciation for movies getting made now, be they good, bad, or ugly.
Yeah. And you had an animated film recently. It's kind of doing the festival circuit, right?
Yeah, so it's about a minute and a half long. It's a hand-drawn stick figure kind of deal, sort of in the style of like Nick Park's Creature Comforts, where it's animated, but it uses documentary-style audio, like a conversation, and it brings it to life. It's a conversation between a mother and her son about what are moms, and it's kind of a very meta conversation. And so it won an award for best animation.
Oh wow! Congratulations.
Awesome. Yeah, nice.
Thank you very much. Yeah, no, it's. But for me, I'm much more of an avid fan of movies. I don't feel that I'm quite on the level of some of these, the movies that we're going to talk about today. Even though some people would say they are bad.
Bad, right?
Oh,
like
wow.
really
Right,
bad.
because don't get it twisted. We don't have you on here to interview you specifically. We actually, you're joining us. You may be the first person who's ever come on this podcast that wasn't for an interview. It was actually to join us as another podcaster of sorts to discuss
Correct.
the topic
Well,
of
it
the
helps.
show.
It helps that I've not done anything of serious importance. So I might as well be put to work.
Listen, you said it. I didn't. No, I'm fucking with you.
By the way, this is our 50th episode.
Yeah. Oh my
gosh.
God. We
This
didn't
is
even
our-
mention that.
We didn't even mention that.
Yeah, the new
5-0,
intro.
yeah.
The new intro was actually to commemorate. This is the 50th episode of Get to the Podcast.
That's halfway to 100.
That's
That's good math, Neil.
Yeah. You
Dude.
see that? You see that?
impressed,
shit?
I'm
Yeah.
impressed.
I went to school once.
I went to school once. I graduated the 4th grade. Yeah. So this is the 50th episode. This is why this is such a special episode. It's why we have Spaceship
Spencer.
on here with us. Spencer, sure.
Spencer. I'm gonna call him Spencer.
All right, call him Spence.
I'm gonna come up with
Call
a
him
whole bunch of
Spence.
names.
Spency.
Yeah. Spency.
Yes, that's why we have you on here. It's to commemorate
Okay.
that. And so we're glad to have you. And the topic of today's episode is going to be movies that people hate but we love. Where's this playing? Come on, guys. Everybody knows there's a movie that everybody's like, that's a trash movie. I hate it. And you're like, I fucking love that movie.
And people don't usually want to
Right.
talk about it. They don't want to admit that. Oh, no, I really did like.
I mean,
I know.
What's interesting
Movie.
about this concept is there's people out there that there's going to be a handful of films that everybody loves that like the majority just think is garbage. I
know.
Like-
It's like I just will defend these movies that I've picked. I'll like defend to the death. Like I recognize they're not great, but
Nick
just,
will
I
not-
don't know why. I'll
I
just defend them
will
to the
not
death, like-
yield to the gentleman. I will absolutely not.
No, that's not where I was going. Nick will not admit that his favorite film of all time is Jiggly.
It's called Geely.
Or Jilly,
I
whatever.
love that you just fucked up the title of that. It felt so good. I'm like, nom, 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 nom.
Is it?
It's Geely.
Is
It's
it?
not Jiggly.
I thought it was giggly.
I thought. See,
Ben Affleck,
great.
Jennifer Lopez.
I
Yeah.
have a great reason to mispronounce the fucking movie name. So,
Yeah.
all right.
I've never seen that movie actually.
It's not that trash.
I'm
People
not
just
gonna-
hated Ben Affleck at the time.
Oh.
It's
All
not
right.
as
So, I think we should start with Spaceship Spence.
Spaceship Spence. Well, I don't want to put you on the spot. You want to go first, or do you want to
Yeah.
go second?
I can go first.
Okay.
I think I have what is considered a golden turd of a movie that I personally love to death. It has a 0% Rotten Tomato meter rating.
Wow.
So the consensus is it's bad. But I think it's because some people see it as a ripoff of an earlier, much greater kind of movie in a similar vein of Boy Meets Alien. And it's basically, in hindsight, an hour and a half long commercial for McDonald's and Coca-Cola.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
It's the 1988 movie Mac and Me.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
So, I saw this when I was a kid. I have
Yeah.
not seen it as an adult, so I can't say whether or not it's trash or not, but I did like it as a kid.
I remember that film.
Oh wow!
You remember Mac and Me?
Yeah,
That's a great
God.
choice.
God, I haven't seen that movie in like
I'm on your
a
side.
bazillion years.
I'm on your side.
So I mean, I have a bit of I have binders full of reasons why this is such a great movie. In terms of elements that make it great, like so many contributors to it have done so much great work, and then they all came together and made this awful movie. I mean, I think it's great, but the budget was like $13 million. It was basically funded by McDonald's and Coca-Cola, and it was it had a corporate backing, but it did terrible at the box office. It did like $6 million, which they get like half the budget. And they even marketed it as like, we're going to come back with a sequel, because at the end of it is this like cartoon bubble that appears over the alien family that, well, maybe I should start at the beginning. So the story is these aliens are sucking like juice out of this planet, out of the ground, and then this spacecraft lands, and it's a NASA craft, and somehow they get sucked up into it, and then it's brought back to Earth, and then they escape out of it and wreak havoc at this NASA space lab, and it's a family of 4, so it's a mom alien, dad alien, and a sister alien, and the 4th one is Mac. So he escapes off on his own, and it is bad when I have to describe it. He befriends a boy who's actually, the actor was a paraplegic in real life. He was paralyzed from the waist down. So I thought that was kind of an interesting touch, that he was actually, in a wheelchair. He wasn't acting.
Right.
And they become friends, and they have to try and protect Mac from being discovered by the NASA agents or whoever it might be, And the way, I don't know if I should go ahead just straight to the ending because it's so ridiculous. But,
Speak on it.
They end up becoming U.S. citizens and dressing up in like regular people's clothes, and but that's not even.
Wait! Is this the prequel to Alien Nation?
Yeah, I know, right?
Right.
Oh yeah, that was another good one. I love Alien Nation.
Jesus. Wow.
That's actually I do love Alien Nation.
Oh,
yeah.
I do too. They even made a TV show out of it, which was great.
What's interesting about this is there was like a whole slew of films, not like specifically like this, but in the 80s you had like, The Explorers, you had Flight of the Navigator, you had
E.T. even.
Oh, wait.
Yeah,
so we're
E.T.
making sure that those are not the bad films.
No,
we're not shitting on those.
Yeah.
I mean, there was just like a large interest from the public to kind of
Space
see
Invaders.
almost like
Space
kids
Invaders? Oh,
interacting
wow.
with, like these aliens, alien invaders, and then it was like young kids kind of like interacting to some degree with that in that universe or whatever. So it's just interesting. You don't see, I guess, too many of them now.
Right. Yeah, that is true. That is true. Now it's all Stranger Things, but back then it could be family friendly. Stuff, which they don't really do that much anymore.
Yeah, you had like
Aliens.
The Last Starfighter.
Yep.
I mean, yeah.
I wanted to come up with a joke, but
this
my brain
film is
flopped.
kind of like a younger audience, but in a similar vein.
Yeah.
Right.
But I will say it's marketed as a family movie, but there are some serious horror elements to this movie. The way that Mac and Me is introduced to us through, as far as how we see it through the boy in the wheelchair, his perspective. Suddenly, like, things go crazy around their house because they just moved there from Chicago to Los Angeles, and they're getting used to this house, and suddenly there's like what do you call it? A saw comes buzzing through the door, and then this drill right by his head.
Jesus.
And the reason all this stuff is happening is Mac is trying to make the house look like planet where he's trying to he dresses it up to look like a
remodeling
weird desert landscape. He remodels the house, but and then they try and capture the alien, like the boy and his brother and their friend in the vacuum cleaner, and then this girl is wearing the vacuum cleaner like a backpack, and she gets sucked up the wall, the ceiling. She gets flung around the room like a rag doll.
Jesus.
And it's scary. It is really scary. But I guess the reason is, and I hinted to this earlier, it has some like connections to some great filmmakers. Like one of the writers on the script, Steve Feeke, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. He wrote When a Stranger Calls, starring Carol Kane, which was the basis for the first 10 minutes of Wes Craven's Scream.
Yeah.
So, you've got some real, and then like the effects work was done by a guy, I'm trying to remember his name. I think it's Stephen James.
Okay.
But he did like puppeteer and mechanical and design stuff on Aliens, Men in Black, and The Monster Squad.
Oh, snap. That's all you had to say. Now I'm sold.
That's all I had to
Now
say.
we're gonna give Mac and me another chance.
Exactly. Wait, so do you like this movie as an adult? I know you obviously see why people don't like it, but do you still connect with it as an adult?
I will say I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I actually love it. But the things that do stand out to me now as an adult are the obvious product placements.
Right.
The McDonald's scene is probably one of the strangest scenes ever
It's
in
like a
any
commercial.
movie. Yeah, and they put Mac, this alien, inside of this gutted teddy bear. This teddy bear, and then to get him in there, and they try and convince everybody that he's like a very mechanical, like advanced teddy bear, but he can dance, and it's so. And then Ronald McDonald is there. That's the craziest part of all of it. Is why do you have Ronald McDonald?
Wow.
The actual one from the commercials and
Yeah,
everything.
because they had the
in
license to do it.
this
That's
movie.
awesome.
This
Yeah,
sounds
no, but
amazing,
it-
actually. I need to rewatch this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
think
don't,
I'm.
I
gonna
don't
go back
remember that.
Oh, and one last thing. I will make this very quick.
Okay.
So there's this scene where the boy in the wheelchair, he loses his control of his wheelchair. And it plummets down this hill in their backyard of their house, and it goes off of this cliff, and you see the boy in the wheelchair. Well, it's obviously a dummy now in hindsight, but he's plummeting down into this like ravine, and it's so. I can't even describe it. I love it, and yet I can see why people hate this movie.
Right.
That's
awesome.
hilarious.
It's kind of like the cheese of it. I love, some people love Velveeta.
Right.
This is my brand of Velveeta.
That's funny. Okay, cool. What's your next one?
My next one?
Mhm.
Oh boy. I'm gonna go with ones that's more of a. Well, it's hard to describe just because there's some people who say these are great. There's other people who say these are terrible. I'm lumping these into one. It's two movies, but they are sequels. They are the second and third installments of the Matrix trilogy. So you have Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolutions.
Boo! I'm just playing. I am not a huge fan of those, so I need to hear your argument.
Wait, they
as to
made a
why
sequel?
You love-
You know,
They
all
made-
right,
I'm
all
just kidding.
right.
Neil
These guys.
kind of likes
So,
these, but I don't
I'm
know.
of. What's weird is I'm of the mind that like I felt like the Matrix did not need any sequels. Like the first film was like a perfect film
It's
by itself.
perfect.
The way it
It's a
ends,
masterpiece.
it like would have lived on and like just been this like amazing film for forever if they hadn't. But then I don't know. I've watched both of these films, Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolutions, like many times. I saw both of them in theaters when they came out, and I've rewatched them many times because I was a huge fan of the Matrix. And I've grown to like them. Like I do
They're
enjoy both of those films.
for entertainment value, but they do not.
I feel like they were unnecessary to a large degree. Like we didn't like you just didn't need it.
Yeah.
It didn't
I
really
respect-
take the
I
story
res-
to where I felt like the story could have gone.
Yeah, I respect the gonads on these movies. I respect the balls, the
There was
testicles.
a
Like
big-
I respect that they like went all fucking out. Like
Yeah, there's some
they're
insane
wacky.
stuff in those movies.
Yeah.
Like especially Matrix Reloaded. There's some crazy like
Right.
stunt work and all
Stand
that.
your ground, Spencer.
Yeah, okay,
Stand your
but
ground.
So now it's all right. So why do you love these movies? Fuck it, I have no idea why. Why do you love these movies?
Because they're Matrix.
I will say I love that The Matrix stands alone. It is a great standalone movie, but it does introduce a lot of like questions that it didn't have to answer.
Yeah.
And I guess the filmmakers, I guess the Wachowskis, they wanted to explore this, and maybe the pay was right. Maybe they're like, if you give us $300 million to make these two movies back to back, yeah, sure, we could whip up something real quick.
Right, they were released 6 months apart, so they really are like one movie almost. They were 6 months apart.
They-
those two. Yeah.
And I think that's probably the best way to view it, even though for some people that could be not a fun experience to sit for 4.5 hours in
Right.
front of their respective screens. But I have to say, the fact that they amped up some of the elements that were in the Matrix that the fans, I think, wanted to know more about and created their own theories. It's almost like they had to stay ahead of those and sort of not be too predictable. Like the predictable thing would have been to just ramp up the action or bring in some bigger names. I think the fact that they went more toward a philosophical and spiritual side, as well as they hinted at in the first Matrix movie that the existence of Zion, where it's close to the Earth's core and all the people there were freed from the Matrix, and the fact that they chose to go into that realm more, I thought that was really interesting.
All they are a bunch of raving, like they just have raves down there apparently at the core.
Oh, there was
the
that.
Earth.
Yeah, I was
first scene
I
in
was
Blade.
a little thrown off when I saw that big orgy scene that happened.
That was very
when they're at Zion. I mean, I get it. It's like the world could end. Like we could all be dead, any minute. Like so let's have a giant 10,000 person orgy. Like why not? I get it.
I mean, I feel like you can
kinda
have house
understand.
parties. You don't need to have everybody in one big pit.
It was like an odd thing to me when I saw that film. It definitely
It lasts for a minute too.
and it went on.
It goes on.
No. It didn't just
Wow.
last for a minute. It was in slow motion
Yes,
also.
yes, it was in slow motion.
Yeah.
And it was just a weird. It was like to me when I saw it the first time, it was. But I don't know. I rewatch it now, and I'm like, all right,
It's fine.
yeah.
But it's only fine. Okay, but go ahead.
Spencer, let me ask you this: do you feel that the second and third one, because I get a lot of this, because the first one was so good.
So good.
It's so good. It has such a momentum to it.
And a subtlety to it, like the subtle moments really work in that. The second and third one are not subtle even a little bit.
Well, it's not even about that. It's just there was such
It's
momentum. There was
exactly
such.
about that.
I want to find
There was
somebody
such
that's
hype.
never seen The Matrix and then sit there and watch it with them.
Yeah.
Just so I could have that. Watch them have the revelation.
Watching them have the reaction. No, but there was such people loved it so much. There was such enthusiasm about the first one that I feel that in the second and third one that it just leaked into those. You see what I'm saying?
I to touch on the point of watching a movie with someone else and say it's something that you love or maybe you hate, and then you're trying to gauge the other person's reaction. It's really interesting because it kind of, for me, it doesn't really work. It's the most uncomfortable situation to be in. I almost want to tell people, go watch it on your own time. Come back to me. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
It'll be
no.
fun.
You're like that Kermit the Frog
It's
meme.
not fun to watch.
I'll find friends that haven't seen a movie, and I'll just sit there
Force
and
them.
watch them while they're watching the screen,
And they're
just,
watching it at gunpoint too.
Yeah,
You
and I'll make
force
sure
it.
I'm behind them so they can't see me staring at them, watching every little, just to make sure they laugh at the right moment.
And then you're Kermit the
they're
Frog
shocked at
in
the
a
right
fetal position at the end in that meme.
right.
Oh my god!
And then when they don't like it, I'm like, how are we even friends this whole time? How is
I
this
don't
occurring
know
for
you.
You're a
years?
garbage personality and you're
I
toxic
don't
to
know
my
you.
life.
If I had known you weren't gonna like this movie, I never would have befriended you. That's how I feel.
You start out as Kermit sipping the tea, and you end in the fetal position.
Yeah. But here was my
No, go
thing
ahead.
with it real quick is I feel like they abandoned not the spirit of the first one, but the story, the purpose of the first film,
strategy.
and everything they're going for, they just completely abandon. Like that's what they do in the second and third one. Like at the end, they're all still in the Matrix. It's all fine. It's like they basically Agent Smith became the guy they would go up. No,
They
not-
didn't.
no,
No, at
nothing.
the end, he's having
They
the
abandoned
conversation with the Matrix, and he's like,
No.
"I'm going to start setting people free from this."
No, I
I'm
think
gonna
that's
give
just
you
how
a
this
choice."
went. Yeah.
What
That's
are
how
you
just-
talking about? Rewatch the end of the Matrix. He's on the
You
phone.
rewatched the end.
He's on the phone talking to the Matrix.
Yeah,
and he's like,
he is.
"I'm going to start letting people free."
In the
and there's
first
nothing
movie.
you.
Oh,
yeah.
the first movie. I thought you meant the
Oh,
end
yeah,
of the
yeah,
third.
yeah. I thought no. I'm talking about
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. The second and third.
Yeah.
He's
talking about
trash
the end of
everything.
Revelations.
Yeah, the Revolutions. Yeah, the end of the third
Revolutions?
one, they literally go, "Oh, Agent Smith is now the bad guy. He's fucking up the Matrix. So then we're gonna help you by getting rid of Agent Smith, and we're all gonna live happily ever after in the fucking Matrix." What the hell happened? They abandoned the whole purpose, which is
But I mean,
free your
all they
mind,
did was
free you from
space
the Matrix.
reality. It was kind of like
You're gonna be enslaved forever.
Earth was kind of fucked, man. I mean, they
No,
destroyed
I mean-
the atmosphere. There was the only place you could live was close to the core. Like there was no life.
That rave should have been a mass suicide. That's what should have happened. They should have all killed themselves when they faced
Oh my
reality.
No, I think Agent Smith tried to get a piece of what humanity was trying to have, that freedom. No, I don't think they escaped the storyline.
No, they escaped the story.
No, I don't think they.
There were many cool. There were many
you gotta
cool
agree with me on
things
this.
in
Don't agree with him.
They abandoned
I don't
it.
think.
Don't
so.
listen to Nick.
There's a scene where Neo
okay.
can interact with the squids or the squibs or whatever they're called. Remember at the end at the end of the second film.
Yeah.
Yeah, he like does that whole
In
thing.
the real world.
And then there's a scene where Agent Smith somehow transfers his consciousness into
Correct.
To the
that
guy on the
human,
ship,
which
yeah.
all of those things are crazy concepts.
They
and
are,
I wish
and
they had fleshed out more.
Exactly. I did like them.
But-
That's what I'm saying. There was ballsy moves, and they did do things. I was like, oh, that's
They kind of
deep.
just glossed over it. They're kind of like, eh.
Well, why? Why has he got the powers outside the Matrix? They kind of touch upon it, but they don't really like answer. Which I'm fine. Don't answer it, but don't fucking abandon the whole concept of the Matrix story. Go ahead. What were you gonna say, Spacey?
Go ahead, Spacey.
I was going to say, I mean, to that point, why would they abandon the concept of the first movie, which is where you're questioning what is real, what is not real, what is fate, what is free will. I think they kind of got those points across in the first movie, and where they move on to in the second and third is they need to build up. It's like in the second movie, you're climbing a mountain, if you will, and you reach that peak, and it's not so more about. I mean, there's probably people who were confused when they went to see it. Were like, is Zion real? Maybe Zion's in the Matrix too, or another Matrix. There's like layers upon layers.
It was
like
the architect.
All the way down.
The architect, played by Will Ferrell.
What?
But I think the way that they built up to that twist at the end of Reloaded, rather, which by the way has some of the greatest set pieces in movie history, like the Burly Bam scene with all the Agent Smiths coming at him. The freeway scene is incredible as a set piece, like that. I mean, it was absolutely visually stunning, and I can understand.
Yeah.
You need to have story that supports it, otherwise you have a Transformers movie.
Right.
But the way that it built up to that twist, where it says everything you know is wrong once again. When Neo meets the architect.
Right.
Because it's like he's telling him it's happened before, you're going to fail.
You're not the
like
first one.
Else.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so it is kind of unsatisfying if people are like, no, Neo is like, he is the coolest, and Keanu Reeves, of course he is.
Right.
But to think that there have been Neos before him and they have failed, and he's the first not to, as you find out in Revolution. I guess stories like that are not very pleasing because we like people who discover their powers, and that's why the Matrix is so great. It's because it's that discovery of his ability to do something that he didn't think he could do.
Right.
And then there's the inverse of that in the trajectory of Reloaded to Revolutions, in that he has all the powers. He's basically doing a Superman thing, and then he has to do he has to come to grips with sacrificing his relationship with Trinity and, even his own life. So it to me, they could have maybe finessed it into one good movie, maybe. Right. I don't know. Or maybe even 4 movies. But I still, I love the story.
Okay.
I love the trajectory. So I will say, maybe you disagree, maybe you disagree deep down, maybe you like it.
No,
I don't think. Look, I don't think.
Here's the thing: I do enjoy the movies. I've always said this. If you've listened to the podcast, I enjoy films. I actually don't like shitting on films, but I do know those movies were unsatisfactory to me. I saw them in theaters when they came out. I was hyped for them. The first Matrix is one of my favorite movies, and I just felt like the second and third.
Definitely.
I felt like the second and third ones, they almost ended them on a lazy note. Like they didn't know how to complete this story, so they just kind of ended it. And then also, I really didn't like the whole CG of the flying Agent Smith and Neo scene in Revolutions in the rain. I thought it looked very
execution.
Yeah, I thought it looked like a video game, and they were doing that a lot at that time period.
I feel like it was a
lot of movies were doing that
at the time. It was like impressive.
No, I don't think it was.
Just a few years later, you're like, oh, that looks dated.
No, at the time they were doing that in a lot of movies, and I would argue that a lot of people didn't like it.
It was the uncanny valley.
Yeah,
I
did not like it. I did not like it.
I'm
watching a movie. I'm not trying to watch a video game.
Yeah, but I think that
I will. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I think you said something that I was actually explained, like made me have a realization, is that the Matrix 1, it hit the mountaintop. It literally did. Yeah. And I think
only way
what you're
down.
saying about the story, how they went away. I don't think they went away from the story. I think the first one was so clear and the story was so understanding. But then when you got to the second one and third one, it was so many crazy things happening that nothing was clear. Was Zion real? Was this real? What is going on?
Right.
And it just became this whole like mudslide of unknowing what's going to happen next. And I think that's one of the reasons why it wasn't as good as the first one, is because you didn't really understand what was going on.
Right, and the first one ends on a who knows what's going to happen next, but it does it well.
It does, yeah. But you had a clarity to the situation.
He didn't fly, though.
He flew the last half a second.
But the whole movie, he was like the effect of gravity. And then in the last half second, he puts his sunglasses on and it's blasting Rage Against the Machine. And the guy just takes off straight up towards the cow. I mean, come on.
Awesome ending.
It was
That's
amazing.
still awesome.
It was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, he's taking control of the Matrix.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. When these films came out, I remember enjoying both Reloaded and
Revolutions.
Revelations. Why do I keep saying Revelations?
Because it revealed itself to be a shit movie. I kid. It's
I know,
not-
and what's funny is I remember seeing
Revolutions.
I just
Help him
want
out,
to say,
Spencer.
I want to say Revelations so bad. Revolutions. I remember seeing that in theaters and like being floored. Like, I really like that movie. I really like that dynamic between Agent Smith and Neo, and how Neo was like the opposite of Agent. He was like the positive end of the spectrum, and Agent Smith was the negative end of the spectrum. And when they came together, they like canceled each other out. Like, I liked for some reason I got that concept when I saw it, and I enjoyed it. And then I just started talking to other people about it, and they were like, "That was the worst movie I've ever seen." And then it's like I started to have so many negative, like there's so many people like dislike the movie that it started to like put this negative twist on it. So when I would rewatch it, I would see all these negative things that I didn't notice before.
I know. I hate that. I do hate
and
when
it
it gets
tainted
into
my view.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, maybe it wasn't that good of a movie.
It's terrible. I hate when
But
that
I
happens.
loved it when I saw it. I remember loving
Which is
it
what
when
you
I saw
should
it.
hold on to.
Which is the main reason why you guys hate me for not watching Star Wars.
the new Star Wars.
The
yeah.
last,
But I get it.
You haven't seen it yet?
Nope.
This guy.
Too many talks.
Punch yourself in the
I-
face. Go ahead.
I will end and basically say I understand that Revolutions is a little harder to defend, considering that it's basically one extremely long act. One act.
Yeah.
Basically,
Third
you have
act,
the people in Zion trying to stave off the Sentinels, and Neo doing his thing, and Morpheus and Niobe doing the other. I mean, that's, if I can't even describe it, I can see why you got. Yeah, it's really. So the third one is hard to defend, but I think as an arc, if you lay out the story, I personally love it.
Totally.
So,
Yeah. Okay, good. Well, now that we spent 4 hours on that those two movies alone, thanks for coming to get to the podcast. And all right, so we got one more from you. Let's try to clip along on this one and see if we can.
Yeah, totally. I will make this quick.
Okay.
So this movie has a 27% Rotten Tomatoes rating. It came out in 1998. It is based on a TV show from the 60s.
Oh God.
It is Lost in Space.
Oh.
I love that film.
This would be on my list actually.
Oh my God.
I actually really love that movie.
I love that film.
Are you a hater?
Spencer. Are you a hater?
Lacey Chabert was very annoying in that movie, and that little monkey
bother
thing. What was
me.
that
What?
little alien thing?
Yeah, the monkey spot or whatever it was.
Oh my
Or
Hey,
God. Huh?
hey,
What was it?
blurb?
Blurb.
Blurb.
Yeah.
it
Hey,
Blurb?
Spencer,
I
just
think
letting you
it's
know, I'm
Blart?
shutting down
Like
next
Blart.
mic.
Blurb.
Blart, like Paul Blart,
Blurb.
Mall Cop? Oh, it just gets better. It just gets better.
Dude, you're just a hater, man.
That movie was awesome. What
Dude.
is wrong with you, Nick?
William
LeBlanc,
Hurt?
William Hurt, Matt LeBlanc.
Amazing.
Gary Oldman was the
Gary
villain.
Oldman? Oh my God.
I know. This movie should have been incredible.
It was.
It
It
was.
wasn't. I mean,
When was the last time you watched it?
recently,
I watched it 4 months ago.
I watched it like 2 months ago.
I watched
guys
it
should be
4 months
ashamed.
It showed up on
You
Netflix,
should
and I
be
was like, "Oh
ashamed.
shit, it's on Netflix!"
I want a divorce.
Yes.
I want a divorce.
I didn't know you hated this
Get to-
movie so much.
this is-
I don't know why I like it.
I'm
like
picking you both off, and I'm renaming this.
Nick,
get to next podcast.
Nick, shut up. Spencer, tell us why this movie's so incredible.
So I was among those people who saw it when it first came out in theaters, and it was sort of in this Titanic world where you have those huge spectacle movies, but to me, I wasn't the target market for a Titanic. I was about 12 at the time, or 13, and or maybe about 13 or 14, and I think for me, Lost in Space resonated arguably more than Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, which came out like the next year. And I don't know why. I think it's just because you come upon something at the time in your life where you're like, I needed this movie. Yeah. I gave it I rewatched it recently. I can see why people don't like it. The time travel elements are a little clumsy. Some of the dialogue is, yeah.
And Lacey Chabert is a nightmare in that movie. Please acknowledge
Yeah.
that. She's a nightmare.
Don't be a hater.
What?
She's actually honestly the only thing. I even like the little boy more than her. Like
I know, but I didn't think her
Do you, like,
performance
need
was
another
like
coffee?
canned. I thought that she
do.
played the character that she was supposed to play. Like when I watch the movie and I see her performance, I'm thinking like she's the bratty teenage young.
Well, then
kid.
she killed it.
Yeah, she killed it. That's how I always felt.
She started selfie videos.
Yeah, selfie videos
I know,
like selfie
vlogging.
videos when like
Vlogging.
nobody was
Vlogging.
doing.
She's
That was
vlogging.
awesome.
Yeah.
Come on. I think if that vlogging thing came out right now, if that movie came out like when
Yeah, she was
vlogging was alive,
Snapchatting
it
before
would have been great.
Snapchatting
People would have gotten it.
existed,
Yeah, a
essentially.
lot
Yeah.
better. Yeah.
It's ahead of its time, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
It's actually timeless because it goes back and forward.
I was just gonna say, I think it was coming up at a time in the '90s when these like reboots that now is so commonplace with movies. You know, we see things being rebooted all the time. I mean, even Batman. It's almost like there's a collective amnesia about this character and a need to reboot it every 6 months.
Right.
But with Lost in Space, it took a property from the '60s and they drained some of the fun out of it in a way by making it a very serious and dark movie. But I think that was part of a trend in a way.
Well, they did Wild Wild West as well. Like Wild Wild West was also a remake of a TV show. Like they were on kind of a kick on recreating old TV shows. At that time
But
period.
I think that Lost in Space did a better job and had a better cast of actors. Like you can't beat William Hurt, Mimi Rogers, Heather Graham. I mean, obviously she.
Oh my God, I forgot
think
about
she
her.
kind of suffered, but she was great. I thought visually.
Yeah.
And
Visual, I know. No kidding.
And Jared Harris as Will Robinson, you know, the older Will Robinson.
Yeah.
I thought he was incredible because there's that pivotal scene where he has to decide, you know, the fate of the movie, and I mean, which is the plot of the movie is basically you should say you love your kids more, spend more time with them.
Yeah, it's basically that William Hurt is a bad father, is the same. Like, and he just is like cannot communicate with his children.
Yeah, but now
Like,
the
that's
question:
whole
does
movie.
Ronald McDonald show up in this one? Is this sponsored by McDonald's and Coke as well? Sounds like
Sponsored by
Guys,
NASA.
Haterade. You know what's interesting? You mentioned that.
Haterade, is that what you said?
Yeah, this guy's drinking too much
Drinking too much
Haterade over
Haterade.
here. It's interesting you mentioned that end scene because that was what cemented that scene at the end with what's his name? William Harris or who plays the older Will Robinson?
Yeah.
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 Jared Harris.
Jarrett Harris.
Jared Harris, yeah. He his performance is actually what cemented that film, like in my mind. Like that scene at the end where you kind of like think the whole thing is over and they lost and it's like everybody's dead and then it like he opens the kind of like wormhole or whatever,
Portal,
the time portal
yeah.
or something like that, and then he throws him through and then the dad sees the son,
Yeah.
the older son. You know, and he's like, they're having that conversation where it's like the dad and the son are the same age. Like for some reason, that dynamic, I thought really, I was like, that's so cool to be able to be a father, but talk to your son when he's your age.
Yeah, it could be an entertaining movie, but I would prefer, you know, Interstellar or Contact.
I mean, come on.
I'm just
you're
saying.
like laying down like these movies came out way later.
I
But
know.
it's a fun movie.
Honestly, it is a
with
fun
some
movie. I
serious
understand
elements.
that. I understand that. And I think if you put my only thing is like I think if you watch it as an adult without having the childhood memory connected to it, it's a little bit harder to get into.
I mean, I was 17 when that movie
But
came
I don't
out.
want to shit on your take, Spacey. Although
thank
if
you.
you rewind this, you'll see that I absolutely did.
Absolutely did.
I-
Yeah.
I knew what I signed up for when I got onto this.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
So,
worked with you before.
I did want to say that the director of Lost in Space, also directed The Ghost in the Darkness.
Fuck.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Predator 2.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
Wait.
Yes.
Remy Harlan.
And
away.
Blown Away.
Yeah,
Wait, no,
Nick's
hold on.
No,
confused
it's
now.
not Rennie Harlan.
Why did I think he did Predator 2? No, who did Predator 2? Are you
It
sure?
was not. Rennie Harlan did Die Hard 2.
No, I know he did Die Hard 2, but he also did Predator 2. Rennie Harlan.
No, Rennie Harlan.
Everybody's got their phones
I
out
saw
right
that
now. Look at this
recently.
Googling going
you're
on.
wrong. You're wrong.
did he?
Look at this
Yeah,
Googling
you're wrong.
going
You're
on.
wrong. You're really looking at something.
Yeah.
I'm pulling out my IMDb. He must have been a producer on Predator 2.
Uh-oh. Spencer, you're about
Am
to
I
see a
right?
showdown
Am I
now.
right? Am I
You
right?
might be right.
Oh, boy. Stephen
that.
Hopkins.
No, Stephen Hopkins directed Predator 2.
Shit. Damn, fuck me.
Oh.
God damn it.
I'm sorry,
No,
Neil.
is
What do you
Nick
have to
wrong?
say to Nick?
Is
Wait a
Nick
minute.
wrong
Wait a
right
minute.
now?
What did he do? Hold on.
Nick right now is trying to
I
rewrite
know he did Die Hard
Wikipedia.
2. He did. Maybe he produced Predator. Maybe he produced Predator 2.
I don't know if Rennie Harlan
Look,
has done a Predator movie.
Nick is trying to find a right point. This is what happens all the time. He's like, I cannot be fully wrong.
God,
I
I'm
have to
so wrong right now. It hurts my soul. He had
well,
nothing to do
thinking
with
Die Hard
Predator 2.
2. Die Hard 2.
Rennie Harlan has a string of movies that I think people love but are just terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, Deep Blue Sea is one of my favorite.
Cutthroat
Rennie-
Island.
And Cutthroat Island.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Cutthroat Island. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Whatever. Stephen Hopkins got it. Ghost of the Darkness, Predator 2. Fine. It's a good movie. What do you want from me?
There we go.
All right, fine. I'll give you that. We're going to move on, but Lost in Space, yes.
Great
Fine.
film.
You need to rewatch it. It's on
I
Netflix.
watched it 5
It's
years
actually
ago.
a
So I
really-
watched it as an adult. I did watch it 5 years ago.
Okay.
Wow. It was the last time I saw it.
You just have
so-
bad taste.
All right.
And it was edited by the same guy who edited The Shining.
What?
Wow.
Oh,
Look,
wow.
Nick is sitting over here. He's like,
Calm
all right,
down
just
now,
stop.
Got some
Spacey.
A-listers.
And one more. Ready for this?
Uh-huh.
He also edited Aliens.
God damn it. If you tell me he edited Monster Squad 2, I'm just going to jump out the window.
No, you're gonna
No,
rewatch
I
the
love-
first
yeah,
floor.
We're on the first floor, so it won't hurt. I'll just tuck and roll.
There you go.
All right, fine.
So those are my movies.
Good. Well, that's a good list. I shat on them, but that's just because I felt like it. I'll be honest.
That's just the Nick
hit me.
momentum.
But that's actually some good movies. I have enjoyed every one of those, even Reloaded and Revolutions. I did enjoy them. Like I said, I've said this before. I'm entertained by them. I just knew there were faults in them, and so it stopped me from loving them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Who's next?
You want to go?
Rock, paper, scissors?
All right, let's do it.
Rock, paper, scissors,
What,
shoot.
a three-way?
What? No, go ahead.
One,
you two do.
two,
I
three.
hear it's not gay if it's in a three-way.
Are we doing? No.
I'll
you were
forget
doing
it.
No,
I'll
you
go.
guys just did.
I'll go.
All right.
This is really going to take too long. This is dead air. Okay. All right. So the movies I've decided to go kind of, the more commercial. Are you serious right now?
No, I'm just kidding.
I've gone the more commercial route, and each one of mine is actually like a remake or sequel of some sort. Okay, the first one, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Well, I don't even know why that's on the list. I mean,
Because
that's-
people
nobody hated that movie.
Yeah. Okay, you're crazy.
That was one of the movies I saw in
understand.
theaters, and I was like, this is like one of the best Indiana Jones films.
Blew
I've
my
seen.
nipples off. I love that movie. Like, I was like, this is so good. This is such a good installment.
I fucking
Better than Temple of Doom.
loved it.
Yeah.
He's saying his
I
third
loved
nipple has been blown off.
Yes,
I don't know.
my
It's,
nubbin.
it is better than Temple of Doom.
It is. I do like Temple of Doom, but it's better than
I
that.
don't know. Temple of Doom's got.
I think,
that
see, you know what I think
nostalgia.
is wrong about this film is the fact that you're choosing something from such a glorious series.
Well, that's why
And
that's why I'm a brave soul and I should be commended for it. I'm basically saying there's this movie that people universally pan. Like, they don't like it because they feel like it's not good when it stands up against the other Indiana Jones films. You go online, you'll see fucking haters like by the boatloads for this movie.
Well, I think the only two
It's got like a
things I could
6.2
think
on
of,
IMDb.
which is so insane. Like, I think people didn't like the alien twist,
Which
and they
blows my
didn't
mind.
like
Yeah.
Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf? Shia
LaBeouf. Shia
Which is
LaBeouf.
insane because he's a fantastic actor.
Yeah,
even
and
as
he's
a
great in the
child,
movie.
even in like a movie like Holes, where he was much younger, like he was great in that movie. Like he is great in this movie.
By the way, I think he's an incredible actor, and I don't care what anybody says.
No, he is,
Yeah.
but it's a good
I feel
movie.
like there is an element of that film because I've rewatched it like a few months ago, and there is like this weird element of it feeling rushed. Like Spielberg did like
The
one or
CG.
two, not the CG, like the acting. Like each, like when I watch that film and I see each performance, like I feel like Spielberg did like one or two takes.
Okay.
Like for each scene, and it was like, all right, clip next one, move,
Hmm.
next one. And I remember watching like a behind the scenes thing, and they actually finished that film in under like the amount of the allocated time that they had set to shoot their shooting time period or whatever.
Yeah,
like they had finished it faster, and it was like this big positive thing, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't know, is that good? Because Spielberg, he's just getting older, and he's like, all right, that was good enough. Like,
Here's
fuck it,
the
we're just
thing.
throwing it in a movie.
I
Like,
thought the movie from the opening scene with the Russians and the friend who betrays
Oh, I loved
him.
it.
Yeah,
he
I
goes,
loved
it.
not as easy, isn't gonna be easy. Not
I
as
love.
easy as it used to be.
Kate Blanchett, I love in that
And he
movie.
picks up
I
his
love
hat
Kate
and he puts
Blanchett.
his hat on in the shadow of the Jeep. Like, just that whole movie feels like Indiana Jones.
It
That is
does,
not
yeah.
easy to capture the magic of those films. And
Indiana
that one
Jones in
did
the
it.
60s.
And that's what I'm saying. I think-
Yeah, in the 50s.
Or the 50s.
Yeah, with the
like
nuclear
nukes and all
town.
that. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that film is within that Glorious series, and this is what I'm saying, is that I don't think there's an Indiana Jones, even though it's not going to be as good as the other, that's going to be really bad, because it's such an adventure to watch those films.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
But
It
you
doesn't
could mess
matter-
it up. You could mess it up.
You could 100%
And I don't
mess it
feel
up.
like they messed it
but
up.
I don't think they messed it up at all.
No.
So I totally agree. I'm on your side with this.
I liked it when Shia LaBeouf was swinging with the monkeys in the jungle.
Okay, I don't love that. Okay, I don't love that.
At the time when I watched the movie, I was like, I'm in. Like I drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm in. Like I'm
Right.
in for this ride, and I didn't care until later. I started reading all these negative reviews, and
I
people
know.
are like, and brought out, and I was like, oh, is that a bad thing? Yeah, I hate it when that shit happens.
You're talking
I
about the
gotta
Jeep
stop
running
reading.
time where there were
Yeah,
cars?
well,
Yeah.
I
A
actually
lot of-
love
well,
that
see,
whole
a
scene,
lot of
but
people were
like
confused.
the monkey scene just feels a little too.
Yeah.
The whole scene is
No, it
ridiculous.
It's very
was.
Like,
CG.
It
too,
was,
and I
yeah.
love it.
And a lot of people talked about that, how that wasn't. I don't know how they didn't understand why that looks so fake. Why they didn't
Yeah.
spend so much money on that. So.
I mean, the whole sword fighting, him and Kate Blanchett, like
Yeah.
like sword fighting on the jeeps while they're going through the jungle, and there's that big machine that's like chopping down the trees.
Yeah.
Like all the set pieces in that, even though there's an outrageous amount of CG, like I
Yeah.
love. Like I'll rewatch that movie today and
Right.
thoroughly enjoy it.
Right. Anyways, I think it's a great film. Spacey, do you like the film or don't you?
I do. I remember when it first came out, and I was blown away, no pun intended, by the nuclear town scene. Even though there
The refrigerator.
people will hate, people will hate it, but I think they forget it's just a movie.
Yeah.
People,
And it's Indiana Jones.
think-
He was in an airplane, jumped out of the plane in like an inflatable boat, inflated the boat, landed on the top of like Everest, like slid down Everest, and then ended up in
Listen,
a river in
if
India.
you're gonna
Like,
criticize the
what?
film, you need to actually come correct with some good points, because this whole like the aliens thing didn't make any sense. I'm like,
Oh
and the
my
fucking Ark of
God.
the Covenant did.
Yeah, like come on, guys.
Pulling hearts, burning
Dude's
hearts.
face is like melted off of his face.
Yeah, face melted off of his face. The Holy Grail, 2,000-year-old knights
Yep.
in caves. Come
Yeah,
on.
and you guys can't have a little like alien dudes with
You should
crystal
punch
skulls.
yourself in the face.
Come on.
No, that.
Nano.
Yeah.
I will say, the first film, I don't think anything can match Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I love Temple of Doom and Last Crusade
Yep.
and Crystal Skull. But what you have is, I think there's a quote that stuck with me. I think it was Roger Ebert that basically made the comparison to pounds of sausage. And you eat the first pound of sausage, and then the second pound, and the third pound, and the fourth pound. Which is the one? How do you choose which one pound tasted the best?
All right,
I mean, it set the precedent with Raiders of the Lost Ark. Spielberg and George Lucas, they set the precedent that there are supernatural elements. Pretty much anything can happen. They can defy the laws of, normalcy,
Yeah.
because that's the fun nature of it. It's that serial movie. It's that, that adventure film that they grew up watching.
Yeah.
And I think they updated it for a newer generation. And I just think, obviously they had some time away from the original trilogy, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But the fourth film doesn't really falter, in my opinion. I think it's great.
Right, and I would argue that the whole alien thing is actually not even supernatural. All the other films had supernatural elements, other than the slight telepathic thing that happens in that film. The whole aliens thing is actually like technology. Like people from another planet came through. There's a ship. Like that's all technology. That is not even supernatural.
They were like sitting dormant or something.
Yes,
like that.
exactly. And
Yeah.
so there is like the telepathic element there, where he like fries her brain or whatever. I guess could be, but other than that,
No, he was
that
filling
less
her mind
supernatural.
full of knowledge.
Right, but he
Alien
melted her
knowledge.
brain.
But I do remember people disliking Marianne Ravenwood coming back, and I thought that was great.
Where was she? I loved her in
actually
Raiders.
really
Yeah.
like that whole arc.
And
yeah.
I'm moving on because we could talk about this forever.
Oh, this is gonna be like a 5 hour.
Jesus Christ, we're gonna break this into a 5-part series.
I'll
This
give you a
is
segue.
ridiculous. Live Free or Die Hard is my next one, though. So it's the fourth Die Hard film, okay? Because you got the 4 Indiana Jones film. I'm going to take the fourth in this series. I'm not giving you a Quest for Peace. I'm not giving you Superman 4 Quest for Peace. I'm not going to go down that route because I can't defend that film. But I can defend the shit out of Live Free or Die Hard, okay? Now, this is the only Die Hard movie that's PG-13. So sure,
they
is
did
that a
release
problem?
a rated R version.
That's right, unrated, I think is what it was.
Oh, right, unrated, yeah.
Okay, so Live Free or Die Hard, it's
Justin
PG-13.
Long.
That could be the only thing that maybe you could find fault with, but overall the movie works, and it still feels violent and actiony, but I get it. There's some people don't like the fact that there was no cursing in it, and the yippee-ki-yay motherfucker was cut out. I get that. I get that.
I'm a huge fan of Die Hard films, and for some reason I saw this film, and the antagonist didn't feel threatening.
Timothy Olyphant?
No.
Timothy Olyphant,
Literally
Maggie
crippling
Gale.
the country?
What?
Both of them, and this is weird coming from, because
No.
dude, I mean, coming off the heels of like Jeremy Irons and Die Hard with a Vengeance, like, and then, I mean, I know there was a long period
I get
of time.
the up
They
to
murder
parts
all
of-
those hackers like in the room. They're like ruthless. They don't give a shit.
Maybe
They're
it was
crippling
because
the
Kevin
entire
Smith
country.
is in the film. It just felt like too James
wasn't in a
Silent
lot of it,
Bob.
though.
I know he was in the movie for like
I thought he
5
was great, the
seconds.
Warlock.
I thought he was good too. I just like, I don't know what it was. It was something about the movie that like there was like Hans Gruber is threatening and it's isolated. Like this film, they're like, I know they're running around New York City and Die Hard with a Vengeance,
Yeah.
but like in this film, it felt like they were all over the East Coast or something.
No, they weren't. They were in D.C. Most of the New York to D.C. That's it. Mainly in D.C.
But they were like cutting to like scenes in different locations. And
Not really.
I don't know.
Only because it affected the whole country did they like have little extras. But
Did you
nothing
feel
with
though that Timothy Olyphant like was like a Jeremy Irons was
No,
like
I thought he was
Alan
pretty good. Because
Rickman?
first off, Timothy Olyphant's a great actor.
Even the guy, I forget what the actor's
I don't
name,
understand
in
why you
Die Hard
chose this
2
film.
was like more terrifying to me.
William
When he
Sadler?
like just crashed the plane and murdered all those people.
William
and-
Sadler, yeah.
Yeah, William Sadler.
Sadler,
Yeah.
Sadler.
Like,
Yeah.
he was just like a terrifying, just a total psychopath. Like he didn't care how many people he murdered to get money.
Timothy Olyphant was the same way, though.
I don't know. I didn't get that.
So why did you choose this movie? Because I'm looking at ratings, I'm looking at reviews and stuff like that, and I'm looking at what people are saying.
You're not looking fucking close enough because people fucking hate this movie. What are you talking about? They
And
think it's a
I
terrible-
like this movie, so
Yeah,
I agree.
I'm
with you. I thought it was great.
I'm gonna be the only negative.
What's the IMDb
Nancy
rating on it? It's like 6.2
IMDb,
or
no,
something.
it's fucking 7.2.
7.2. Yeah.
That's
IMDb.
that's
Okay,
like
fine,
a norm.
7.2.
Yeah.
No, but I'm just telling you, this is a generally not accepted movie.
Yeah.
Come on, you guys have heard this. Tell me, somebody's heard that this
I
movie
almost
is not
like
liked.
the one that came out after a little bit more.
No! What? A Good Day to Die Hard? Kill yourself!
Good
Are
Day
you kidding
to
me?
Die Hard.
No.
With like 90-year-old Bruce Willis running around with his son, and they're just arguing the whole movie.
Yeah, Die Hard 2, close to death.
That one at first is what I
The
thought you were
geriatric
talking about
edition.
because that one, it just.
That one
it
just
didn't- the
came
story-
out. I didn't
it
even
just
know
really
another
didn't
Die
make
I saw it in
sense.
theaters. I
came out
enjoyed
until
it. But
Yeah.
Did it come out in theaters?
Yeah.
It
Oh
did,
my god,
yeah. That one didn't
completely
really make
missed
sense
that
to
movie
me, so-
somehow.
No,
Yeah.
Live Free or Die Hard is a good, like a great film. I
It's a
love
great
that
film,
film.
yeah.
I've seen it a bunch. I know. I'm telling you, this is a generally panned film. People do not like Live Free or Die Hard, especially the PG-13
Yeah.
element of it.
Yeah.
Talk to me, Spacey. Come on, you've heard this, right?
Yeah, I have to side with Nick on this one because I'm a little biased. This is my point of entry to the series. So I came into this one and then started at the beginning. Because as a kid, my mom didn't let me watch R-rated movies, so
Right.
I had to sort of come to those at my own pace. But I can see why people would say this is a weaker addition to the Die Hard franchise, just because, that they are so. The tone of the first three movies it's different. In our movie, you can get a different feeling across, but that does not make Live Free or Die Hard like a bad movie. I think it's oh boy, the story, the fact that they put John McClane in this new realm that he doesn't understand, the digital aspect, the information age, or the warfare they can do through taking out the grid, basically, and causing the chaos that they do. It makes for great situations to put.
Yeah, I love that dinosaur
John McClane
element.
in.
You take like a dinosaur older guy and you drop him into an element where the villain he's going up against now, his enemy, is technology. Like I thought that was a good way to modernize it. Like here's this guy from 1990. Or 88 was the first film. Like that element where he was kind of almost then he was already still kind of like behind the times on technology. And then you bring him to 2007 with Live Free or Die Hard, and like he doesn't understand what the fuck's going on.
Right.
Like he can't battle this
why
shit, but he still will
Justin
come in,
Long.
throw you out of your own party, man.
That's a great film. I liked it.
Yeah, but people complained about.
I'm not gonna say I like the movie. I did enjoy the movie.
Yeah, people complained about like, oh, then now you got John McClane jumping on fighter jets and shit like that, and this is like superhuman John McClane. I'm like, okay, first off, again, if you're gonna criticize, come correct with your points. In the first movie, he's jumping off a building with a fire hose wrapped around his waist.
That's totally. I could do that.
Okay, good.
I could totally do that.
Good. Second one, he's fighting on a goddamn plane going 80 miles per hour
Again,
on the wing of a plane.
anyone could do
and
that.
get thrown off a plane wing going 80 miles per hour down a fucking runway, easily 80.
Haven't you seen
easily
Mission
80.
Impossible?
You've never jumped out of a
I'm talking
car
about
going
that.
80? Come on, man. Anybody can do that.
I'm just
Tuck and roll.
comparing.
Tuck and roll.
Tuck and roll.
No, I'm just saying he's done crazy shit. He's already done crazy shit. So this one was not like he jumped on a
He did
fighter
shoot
jet.
out of a sewer hole.
Y'all getting really emotional.
Like shoot 30 feet in the air and then just like land on the ground like nothing happened.
Yeah, and then Die Hard 2 when he explodes on the ejector fucking chair. I mean, that's not
Oh.
too crazy, but I'm just saying he's already done crazy shit in all these movies. And Live Free or Die Hard, they're like the fighter, and obviously he ramps up that car and has it fly into the helicopter and take it out.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, I think the main reason people probably were negative on it was the PG-13 rating.
I get it.
I think that was probably the main thing. Like story-wise, it's like a solid story. Everybody
It was a
fit in
great
it.
film. I don't think it was as strong as the first three.
Yeah.
But I think it was a great film. I thought it was a great. I agree with Nick. It was a great addition to the film. I don't know why people hated on it. I never heard people hating on that film. I heard people hating on the last one, which
I'm
didn't
surprised
hate
you never
it.
heard
But
Live Free or Die Hard. It has a good number of haters.
I think
people that go.
I think it's like the stakes. Like if the stakes are right, then like your audience is like sold.
Yeah.
You know what I
I
mean?
can say
Like,
this. I don't think that the hacker thing was shown to the point where you really felt the threat of it.
Yeah, and I think that's
think
how I
that
felt. Like
was-
it felt less like
It wasn't.
Yeah, you had like the bombs in the school and Die Hard with a Vengeance. Like these kids,
You
and
guys
didn't
said
know what kids were going to get blown up.
Yeah, I'm not comparing it to those. I have to talk about. I kind of have to take it away from all of those because if I compare it, it's going to lose 100%.
Well,
Live Free and Die
that's why I
Hard.
think people didn't like it because I felt like the stakes were.
You guys
weren't-
literally were
weren't
defending
as well-
Lost in Space, and now you're like, and found nothing wrong with Lost in Space, and now I'm talking
Literally,
Live Free or Die
Lost in
Hard. You're like,
Space is a
let's
perfect
nitpick
movie.
This shit.
No,
Lost in
I'm not
Space is a
nitpicking. I
perfect
like
You just
movie.
said nothing negative about Lost in Space, and
Oh,
you
yeah, I
find
did.
negative things about Live Free or Die Hard. Am I what?
Yeah, I did.
The
Yeah, I did. I
director
thought the
did Predator 2.
No, that was
Lost
Rennie
in
Harlan.
Space.
He also
It
did
was
Die
not
Hard 2, Die
Rennie
Harder.
Harlan.
Live Free or Die Hard, by the way, was Len Wiseman who did the Underworld movies
Yes.
and
yeah.
the Total Recall remake.
All right, so what's your next one?
Okay.
Give us your third.
I'm glad you didn't bring the Total Recall
Yeah.
Remake? I will not.
as like
I
one
do
of
not
your
love that film.
hidden gems.
No, okay, last one here. Last one. Superman Returns.
I actually really like that movie.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. Better than Man of Steel. I enjoy that movie
I disagree.
more than Man of Steel.
I disagree.
I think Brandon Routh was an excellent Superman.
I also enjoyed it more than Man of
Thank
Steel.
you.
That's okay. I mean, everybody can be wrong.
Yeah, I know. And you're in this case it's you. Superman Returns, Brandon Routh. They did what they did with Christopher Reeve. They picked a guy out of obscurity and they gave him this platform to be the most iconic superhero ever. And he fucking delivered, okay? I have a certain requirement of my Superman. I want chills. I want to see this guy and feel hope. And like, wow, like this person is he's an alien to this human race, but he is, shows us what humanity is, right?
Or
This is
the
not
potential
something-
for humanity.
Yes, the potential for humanity. I mean, even Marlon Brando, Jor-El says, I'm sending, they're good people. They're good species, whatever he says. They want to be good. They hope to be. And that's why I sent him you, my only son.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the whole point. He's there
A
to
light to
inspire.
show them the way.
Yes, you're there to inspire, and that's what Superman's always been. He's supposed to stand for truth, justice, and justice in the American way. Like he's supposed to show us a better way to exist and a way to treat each other properly. And Henry Cavill never does that for me. I think he's a one note.
But that wasn't that
actor.
story about that.
No, I think that specific Superman is kind of one note. Brandon Routh played up the duality of Clark Kent felt like a different person than Superman, and when he was
did.
Superman, I was like impressed.
Yeah.
I was waiting for him to speak, and he had this gravitas that he brought to the role.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spacey, weigh in on this.
I'm so much on the fence. I'm almost impaled. It's
Good. He's on my side. Thank you. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm leaning toward. I don't really like it. I don't know. I would say it's better than Man of Steel on a story level, but I don't know.
Well, if you think, what's there to dislike about the movie? Like, I thought the actions, the design of the action, like in the plane, the plane that was crashing,
literally raising my hand
down to the baseball field. That was a great scene. That scene with the Gatling gun or the minigun that's
really
being
like that
shot at
scene.
him, and he's just walking towards, and the bullets are cracking on his eyes with that zoom in shot.
I understand why you like it so much. I think it was very. So I think Superman Returns was very old-fashioned. It was very true to
The Donner films.
the Christopher
Dick Donner.
Reeves versions of Superman, and I can understand that.
Yes.
I think there was my thinking with Superman Returns was the fact I think they just overdid some elements, and they added elements that you didn't need to add that. So to me, it ruined it.
Here are the
Well, let me explain what it was.
No, here are the negative parts.
So like his son thing, I was like, that was way too much.
I didn't agree with that. It painted them in a corner anyway.
And I think the whole kryptonite land thing, that storyline, it I don't know why it just didn't work for me. It didn't work for me.
That's pretty much the premise of the original Superman.
I like the scenes. Well, the whole I'm gonna build a mass land, and then he's
Superman.
He carries it out. It just didn't.
He was going to break off California.
His powers
from the
against
US
what he's going against and everything.
line.
It didn't make sense.
This is freeing Texas.
It didn't make sense. I loved Man of Steel a lot more than that one because I think it's because of my preference to the personal aspect of Superman and his struggles.
That is why I had a problem with Man of Steel because I didn't feel the connection. I grew up on those Christopher Reeve films, right? And Superman was very important to me, like as a figure. Like I had the pajamas when I was a kid. I had all the movies. You know what I mean? I watched any TV show with it. I read all the comic books. I loved Superman. And Man of Steel, he just doesn't deliver on that level, which I'm fine with. If you're going to make a dark, grittier Superman, that's fine. I just feel like Man of Steel didn't deliver on that. Superman Returns, I felt like, yes, there were problems with it. Kevin Spacey was great as Lex Luthor, but the Parker Posey character I didn't love. She was a lot like Miss Tessmacher in the original one.
I like the Parker Posey. I didn't like Cal Penn's character.
Cal Penn's
was just kind of like there, and he doesn't say
Parker
or
Posey
do
was a
anything.
good break from the film. It was a good character.
I also
she was like Miss
didn't.
Tessmacher in the
I didn't like
original.
Lois Lane, to be honest with you.
So, I've heard people
either.
say that.
I didn't like her in Superman Returns. I mean, I enjoyed the film overall. I thought
I like Amy
Brendan
Adams
Routh
more than her.
and Kevin Spacey
Yeah.
were really good, but yeah.
The thing is, I thought that the action scene and that scene at the end where fucking Kevin Spacey, like you finally see Lex Luthor actually give it. Like the original Gene Hackman didn't really deliver. No, when he stabs him with that shard of kryptonite and breaks it off in him, you see the viciousness of Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
And then he kicks him off the fucking big land thing and he falls to the sea. And they go back and they save him and they pull him out and he's dying and they pull it out of him. Then he stands up and he's going to go back no matter what, even though they're like, they can kill you. He's like, I have to go back. And that whole scene is heavy and dramatic and he plays it so well. And you're like, this is the man. Like, this is the guy.
This is Superman.
This is goddamn Superman.
This is Superman.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say,
still the safest way to.
Man of Steel. I don't think it's I don't think it's a bad movie. I think that it could have been a lot better. And
Yeah.
you're right. I do think that a lot of people could probably disagree, but I think that Brendan Routh did a better
connected with him
portrayal
more.
of Superman than Henry Cavill. Like You're right. Like when he's Clark Kent, he still feels like Superman.
Yeah.
He doesn't feel like Clark Kent. He's just a guy, Superman wearing glasses.
Yeah.
I know that he's Superman wearing glasses, but like his personality should shift back and forth.
I get that.
He's a split
But I don't think
personality
it's-
type.
I don't think it's Henry Cavill's fault. I don't think it's his fault because I've seen.
Are we blaming
I've seen him
Zack
in
Snyder?
Yes, I am because I've seen him in Tutors.
I've seen him in a lot of movies, and he's a great actor. Yeah, I don't know
and
what
even in
happened
that
on
film
that
that wasn't
movie.
popular that he was
Man
on
from
with what was A Day Something. What was it? He was with Bruce Willis. A lot of people didn't see that film, but it was a great film, and I've seen his acting, so I don't think it was his
fine.
fault. Because if you see him, if you see his reaction in the end when he just breaks. What's his name? Zog's. What was
Breaks his neck.
breaks his
General
neck,
Zod's
and how
yeah.
he reacted. You can see. like the emotions come out of Superman. You felt that. You felt like he just feels like he did something wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
So you felt Henry Cavill act that out. I think the problem was, I think it was Snack
Snyder.
Yeah,
Snack Snyder.
Yeah, I think it was Zack
Snack
Snyder.
Snyder.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was Zack Snyder's fault
Which
for
is
not
crazy
using him.
Because I thought Russell Crowe was incredible. I thought Kevin Costner was incredible.
Yeah,
I like the first half
Diane
of that
Lane.
movie, the
Yeah.
first act. I'm like, this is great.
The best
I'm
scenes
sold.
were with Kevin Costner.
And then
Yeah.
it kept going, and I was like, oh, what happened? Like, where is that 7-Eleven? Is that an Exxon?
Sears.
Mobil?
His mom worked for
Is that-
Sears.
yeah.
It was like the product placement was just getting so ridiculous. Like they landed in a 7-Eleven. They were like Slurpees. I don't know. I was like, this is too much. Like I should have been like, this is
Ronald
more
McDonald
realistic.
was in it. I think there's a.
You know what it is? It's just because I've been programmed not to see real stores
I know.
on film, and honestly, that's more realistic than everything else.
I know. It just it throws us off because we know they're getting paid for it. That's the only reason. If we didn't know that, I don't think it would look
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
Anyways. But Superman Returns, I just like it. I get it. It was people didn't like that it was such an homage because it picks up where the original Superman left off. It's actually a sequel. It's not a reboot. It's a sequel to Superman 2.
That's why, he has
It's
a
too
son,
much.
basically.
Yeah, exactly,
and-
exactly. Because they banged.
They banged,
My
yeah.
night with my night
Well,
with
he
Superman.
flew back to Krypton because he thought maybe somebody had survived.
His
or,
planet,
or-
like,
yeah,
there was,
he
like,
had to
yeah.
investigate to find out. Like,
Right.
It's kind of crazy that he could withstand the insanity of space.
I know. Well, he was in a ship.
All right,
Anyways.
so
Was he in a ship?
Spencer, what's your final say on this one?
I think if you have to do an A/B comparison of Superman Returns versus Man of Steel, I think they both have their cumbersome elements in that they had to sort of revive a brand, if you will, because they had to reintroduce it. Like, okay, Bryan Singer, director of Superman Returns, he had to reintroduce Superman. And basically, I think the easiest way was to make it a sequel, a soft sequel,
Right.
with new. Yeah, so I think in that sense, like, it has the original theme music, and so I love that. And even though the aesthetics of it, it updates it. So similarly to Crystal Skull, I think it does the best job it can. Whereas with Man of Steel. Yeah, I would say that Superman Returns edges out Man of Steel in that respect. Although it wasn't Superman Returns like almost 3 hours long.
It was a pretty
I have
long
this memory
movie.
that it was like super long.
I loved
super
every
long.
minute of it. Honestly, I didn't have any issue with the length of that film. I was good with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. Well, so we all are in agreement. Superman Returns is amazing. Okay, good. We should do a Superman Returns versus Man of Steel episode, by the way. We should do a versus episode.
I'm down. I'll
All right,
protect
cool.
my film.
Yeah, I know. You're going to lose. It's gonna hurt. All right, cool. Well, that's it. By the way, quick honorable mention: Funny People, Judd Apatow, Adam Sandler, Seth Rogen. I love that movie.
What did you?
Okay,
What,
let's keep
Did
going.
people not
What-
like that
No.
movie? Oh, okay.
It's got like 6.1, 6.2.
Oh my gosh.
I've never seen it.
Great
All right.
movie. One of his best, actually.
I've heard good things about it. Yeah.
I'm gonna bring honestly throughout this podcast. I have changed my list a little bit. I'm sorry.
What?
Yeah, I just
I actually like that because now I don't know.
yeah, I just have, and I'm gonna start with one film. I'm gonna start with a film that I think 99% of people disliked and hated.
Uh-oh.
I'm a big sci-fi buff. I love sci-fi films, but I think a lot, and I was a big fan of this game when I was younger. But I think a lot of people disliked this movie, which was Wing Commander, 1999.
Wing Commander.
Wing Commander.
1999.
99.
Matthew Lillard and
1999.
she's all that
correct.
guy.
Yeah.
Freddie Prinze Jr.
Freddie
Prinze
Prinze Jr.
Jr.
Matthew. Yeah.
Wow, did I
Holy
see
shit.
this?
Yes.
I may have
Wow,
seen this when
like,
it came
God,
out. Wing
So
Commander.
I played the game.
It has a
The PC game
4.2
back
on
in the day.
IMDb.
It's a video game port. I mean,
It's a video game port. Yeah.
adaptation,
Spencer, did you see this?
I have a vague memory of seeing it. I guess that if that tells you anything, it made a vague impression on me. I do remember Freddie Prinze Jr., Matthew Lillard, Saffron Burrows was in it. But yeah, it wasn't David Warner in it. I'm trying to think. He was in Tron. He was like the villain in Tron.
Yeah, he was in it. Yeah, he was.
Come on. He was from Secret of the Ooze.
Yeah.
Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze. He was the scientist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
So, yeah,
Admiral Tolwyn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know this movie has a 4.2 on
It has a
IMDb.
4.2. It has a horrible rating, and
Wow.
like I don't
Man,
remember
it's
anybody
like Super
else.
Mario Brothers. It was like that. I mean,
I love that. Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
I
Oh,
don't
dear.
remember anybody ever saying anything good about it. I don't know. I think it was
Got
the thing
Jurgen
that.
Prochnow in it from Das Boot and Beverly Hills Cop 2
Oh,
and Da Vinci Code.
oh yeah. So that's my first one. And
Okay.
obviously, there's not much to say about it because
I mean,
nobody
it-
freaking remembers the
Good,
damn
we'll
thing.
just use that one as
I
let's move on.
vaguely.
That's
I
the
think
move on
I
film.
did
yeah.
see it like
so
a long time
I won.
ago.
I won.
I mean, I remember not liking it as a kid, but
Wow, which is
I
hard.
played. Well, I also had negative association. I played the game and I didn't like the game, so when I saw the movie, I was like, there wasn't a pre-built-in like
Connection.
Yeah, like I played the Tomb Raider games when they came out, and then when they came out with the Angelina Jolie movie, like I was conflicted because I loved the games and I enjoyed the movie, even though I didn't think Angelina Jolie was the right pick for that
I
character.
thought she was.
Like
This
with
is
the way
different
they
than-
portrayed her
Yeah.
character, not to go off on a
Yeah.
tangent, but like I also forced myself to like both of those Tomb Raider films
Yeah.
because I loved the Tomb Raider games so much. So it's like I don't know. I think there was like this weird association, like, and that's why.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Maybe I should watch
It
it,
was,
again. And
it was,
fresh
and I
eyes,
get
you
it.
know.
I totally understand why. I feel like I should dislike this film. It wasn't a good film, but I don't know what it is about it.
Those are the best
I
movies where
like
you
The
like
Room.
cannot
It's like The
say
Room.
you can't discern like what about it you like, but like you just will watch it over and
just-
over again.
yeah.
You'll
I don't know
find
what it
yourself
is.
continuously watching this crappy movie.
Exactly. I will watch. I feel like watching it again. I don't know why, but I want to watch it again.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I liked it.
I just looked it up, and it was directed by Chris Roberts,
Yeah.
who also designed and programmed the game Wing Commander. So I feel like there's,
Wow.
Oh God.
to make
So
that
that's
leap,
exactly
to make
why,
that
yeah.
leap is a little. I can see why maybe it didn't do very well.
Yeah.
I had no idea that the game designer directed the movie.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
I
Well,
totally
when
forgot
does that ever
yeah.
happen? Like when does that ever
I
happen?
totally forgot. I don't know.
That's so crazy.
Well, he obviously
Well,
game did very well. He had all the
Sometimes
the money for
authors
it,
of
but
books direct their movies.
Really?
true.
Well, what's his Patterson? James Patterson he's doing a Maximum Ride or whatever. This is his movie. He's directing one of his books.
Wow.
Yeah.
oh well. So
Okay,
all right.
cool.
So
Next one.
Wing Commander. I'm glad we talked about that a lot. So all right. So
Take one for the team, Diego.
I'm glad there's one Freddie
So
Prinze
right-
Jr. movie that you
right
love.
now, yeah, right now, I have like I'm winning because nobody fucking remembers that movie, and that's
So
the
you
worst
won
film.
because we can't say anything bad about
I
it.
remember she
No,
saw
because you
that.
can. That's the whole thing.
something.
My biggest failure was a win. All right, so the next one is very interesting. It's The Happening.
Which I actually really
Yeah.
liked. I really liked that movie.
A lot of
So
people.
many people hated that movie.
A lot of people did not like that movie because it wasn't a film that had a climax. You know, it was just a steady pace film throughout the whole film. But I thought the story in it was so interesting. And I like Mark Wahlberg. And I think he did great in it. There wasn't anything exciting or anything
Like that-
But it was I thought it was a great film with a lot of great subtle scenes.
Yeah, like I remember I saw it in theaters because I was a huge fan of M. Night Shyamalan. So I was like, there was a point where I was just seeing all of his movies that were coming out, like Lady in the
Yeah.
Water, then The Happening. And I watched this movie and I remember thinking like, why is Mark Wahlberg like so confused all the time? Like he's like everything surprises him. He's confused. Zoe Deschanel is like just this blank stare the whole, like all of these things stood out to me. But the thing that sold me on that movie, ironically, like for me, it's like there can be a moment in a film and I'll just like the whole movie because of a moment.
Yeah.
And it was the scene with John Leguizamo.
Oh, yeah.
Where
Okay.
he's talking about his daughter. He's like basically like, take care of my daughter. I'm going to go look for my wife. And there's that
Yeah.
exchange between him and Zoe Deschanel where he's like, it gets real serious.
It gets
all of a
real
sudden.
deep. Yeah, yeah.
And like that little moment, like it like impinged, and I like loved that moment so much that like the rest of the movie, I was like, okay, with the bad.
Yeah.
I mean, and there are elements that are like supposed to be serious. I think they're supposed to be serious that I find humorous. So I also like that. I don't know.
There's so many. Yeah, I think
like
that
the lady
whole
at the
thing,
end, the crazy lady.
Oh yeah. Well, I think even within the humor of the film, it was very subtle.
Yeah.
So because it was very like monotone. The film. It was very
yeah.
monotone.
And I know that Mark Wahlberg is a good actor. Like I've seen
Yeah.
him in films
Yeah.
that he's delivered incredible performances in. So to see him in this movie was like, and the performance that he gave. I'm like, the only thing I could take away was that M. Night Shyamalan wanted that. Yeah. He specifically was going for this like
a confused movie is what he was going
Okay,
for.
scene one, here we go. Everybody look confused and action.
Well, it's called The Happening. Like, so the whole movie, like Mark Wahlberg's running around like, what's happening? What's happening? Like, and he literally says that throughout the whole movie. I will say the other thing that
Looks
turned
like
me
some
off.
sort of hot tub time machine.
This was the first rated R film that M. Night Shyamalan directed. So to take advantage of his rated R rating, he had these gratuitous scenes that were like not even gratuitous. Like they were just
That's
weird.
what I'm saying. He
like
didn't even use it.
Yeah, like the guy, the guy who works at the zoo gets hit with like the pheromones from the plants and then walks into the gorilla thing, and then the gorilla like rips his arm off and just like starts beating him with his own arm or something. And I'm just like watching this, and people are like in the film are shocked, and I'm just like, this isn't even, I don't know how to feel about this. Or like the people like lay in the grass, turn on the lawnmower, and the lawnmower like runs over them. And I'm like, okay,
it was
like,
so awkward.
This is weird.
Yeah. It was so awkward, and it wasn't even just the
that,
scenes. It was the pacing of the lawnmower scene.
Yeah, like and it was like bloody, like blood just spraying everywhere, and I'm like, oh
yeah, it was so weird. It's like
usually it would cut, like you'd cut right as the lawnmower was about to splatter him. And instead, this showed the whole thing.
Right.
And they weren't like quick scenes. They were like 5-minute scenes, which that's pretty long. Where it's like, are they seriously?
They're just gonna show it? No, okay.
We're still showing the lawnmower.
It felt unnecessary. I felt like the film would have had more tension if they allowed you to imagine what was going to happen next and just cut.
Yeah,
but cut away from that.
Yeah, I think in a way he did what he wanted to do by making you feel awkward throughout the whole film.
Oh, and you do feel awkward.
And you feel awkward throughout the whole film.
That scene where they run to that house in the middle of the farmhouse or whatever, and they're like, "Get out of here!" And he's banging on. And the kid's like starts banging on the door, like open the door, and he starts cursing at the people. And then the shotgun comes out of nowhere and just like blows the kid away. Then blows the other kid away, and you're just like, did these kids just get murdered? Like that was so jarring to me when I saw that movie. I was like, first of all, this movie's been goofy the whole movie. Now some kid just got blown away with a shotgun, and they showed it.
How can you not like this film?
Like they showed the kid, like it blasted and like blood spraying everywhere. I was like, wow, like this is a fucked up movie.
Jesus.
As a B movie, it's great for what it is.
Yeah, it is very B.
I can see why people coming to it though from the previous films that M. Night Shyamalan had done. They were really, I was off-put by it just because, like you say, like there's these moments where you're like, oh, it's going to cut away, and it just keeps going and going, and you're almost just, it's a bombardment of, the subtlety seems, the only thing that's subtle is that what is causing all this to happen is invisible. That's the most subtle thing about this movie. And it preys upon people's fears of suicide and the zombie aspect of, it came around around that time, right before all these zombie movies started to come out,
Yeah.
So it kind of predates that as far as the most recent revival of it, like Walking Dead and World War Z.
Yeah.
But on the scale that it is, I don't know that I love it. I have to say, I do respect that he tried to make a big budget. Well, not even big budget compared to some. I mean, it was only like maybe 40 or 50 million, if I remember. But it did really well considering the budget. But I think it could have done a lot better. I think it could have done a lot better if it had just a stronger story, I think.
And you know what's funny about that film, though? It's literally within last year, it's actually picked up in popularity.
It's becoming like a cult.
It's becoming like a cult classic.
Well, it was interesting when that movie came out. There was another film. I don't know if it came out around the same time or within the same, within a few years. But there was a film called The Signal, which was like a British. Oh yeah. It seemed like a British kind of indie film.
Sounds familiar, yeah.
Yeah, where it was basically the same thing. Like there was some mass signal being sent out in like Britain or whatever, and all these people were just going insane, and they weren't committing suicide, but they were like killing each other.
Yeah.
Like the signal would hit people, and then they would just become insane and just start murdering anyone in their environment, and then it would stop, and then it would turn on, and it would stop.
Kingsman type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess there were in the film there were some people that weren't affected by the signal,
Right.
And there were other people that were. But I remember thinking like that when The Happening came out, like, oh, this is kind of like that movie, The Signal, because
Right.
it was like this thing was like affecting the whole population. But yeah, I don't
All
know.
right.
I don't know. It's a yeah.
You either love it or you hate it.
I didn't like it when I
Apparently.
first saw it, but after repeated viewings, I kind of like it a lot. I like it a lot now.
I
Like,
think
it's
that's how
kinda
you
like
create
this-
Manchurian candidates, isn't it? Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
There are a lot of movies like that you know that I think people don't like, and then they watch it over and over again, or you know,
brainwash
And they get it.
themselves.
And
yeah,
you get it.
you get tricked. You know, you
the
start to like,
understanding.
you understand it more. You see all these nuanced things, and you start to like it.
Yeah. All right. So my last one, I don't think a lot of people have seen it, but I've heard like people just don't like this movie, and I fucking love it. I fucking love this film, and it's recent, 2015, and it's called Man Down with Shia LaBeouf. Yes.
Oh, I
Man
haven't
Down.
seen that.
so you really changed up your list.
I
there.
changed up my list. You know what? Because I'm just going strong. I guess
going
I
strong.
yeah, I don't know what it is.
Man Down. That does sound familiar. Which one is that?
So it's Shia LaBeouf, and basically it's literally, they don't tell you, but the movie's about PTSD.
PTSD?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and basically is Shia LaBeouf is dealing with loss of one of his
Frank comrades or whatever, or right? This sounds so fucking familiar.
Yeah, he went. He's returning from Afghanistan.
He's returning
Yeah, like
from-
one of
he's-
his one of his soldier friends or like
correct.
Like,
He died, but he's still
do they call
reliving.
him?
He keeps reliving it, and what happens throughout the movie? I think where this movie went wrong is in the editing itself.
Okay.
Because the two separate the two stories that's going on, it's not clearly understood. Like you don't know until the last like 30 minutes of the film, you start getting, oh my gosh, these are two separate stories. It's not a flashback. It's actually he's reliving it.
Right.
And it wasn't clear, and that's what made the movie very weak, I feel. But he's seeing these scenes where he's at war and reliving it while he's with his family.
wow.
Yeah.
So, and he has a daughter, so he's going through this, and I don't really want to tell the ending because I think,
Go through it, yeah.
I think you guys really, it's a, like if you see it and you you get the whole science behind PTSD and what's
Right.
going on, what happens with it, and you watch this film, you're like, oh shit.
Right.
This is crazy. This is a crazy film, and what's going on, it's just phenomenal. And a lot of people that have seen that has tore that movie down.
Oh, really?
Oh, this is a horrible film. This is, and it's not. It's really. I think it's just because it's unclear. And when I watched it twice, and when I watched it the second time, I'm like, this is a fucking incredible film.
Yeah.
This is just edited wrong.
Right.
But it's a fucking incredible film.
Interesting.
So I'm glad I picked
Movies we haven't seen so that you can
have.
win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not
we
even
can't
about a
tear
win.
down.
It's like we don't even have a conversation about it because you're like, I haven't seen that film. I don't remember
That's
that.
what I
fucking
should do.
film.
That I could just talk about. You know.
So this is why this movie's great.
Exactly.
It went so.
Oh, Gary Oldman's in it.
Yeah, Gary. There's a
Jai
lot of people.
Courtney,
Yeah.
Kate Mara.
I feel like I saw this.
I've told you about it. I don't think you've seen it, but I told you. You know what you also haven't seen? I'm just gonna bring this up because you still have my fucking Blu-ray.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Arrival.
Arrival.
Have you not
Arrival.
watched it?
He has not.
Jesus Christ.
Have you seen that film?
Have you seen
I can't
Godfather
believe
Part
you
3?
love Blade Runner 2049, but you won't watch Arrival.
Hey
I can't
Spencer,
believe you haven't seen Star Wars.
have you seen
I've seen Star
Man
Wars.
Down?
I know, That's why I looked at Diego.
Everybody understands why I haven't seen Star Wars. Spencer, have you seen
Nobody
Man Down?
understands. What? I don't understand. Why haven't you seen it?
All right, let me explain this.
No, don't explain it. We don't have time to explain it. Move on. Spencer, have you seen Man Down? Spencer, you got me calling him Spencer now. Spaceship.
I have not seen it. I have been reading up on it on
I haven't seen
Wikipedia
it. Yeah.
as you've been talking. So it sounds really intriguing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the it's so easy to go wrong with a story about PTSD and a story about people who have been in Iraq or Afghanistan or things like that, and it seems really intriguing. If it sounds, but I'm curious as to why people think it's bad. Like, did it do bad at the box office, or just like people don't like it, or
It just
did
went
get
bad. Yeah, it just went bad. The reason why I feel it went bad, and what I hear from people is the fact that it's unclear what's going on in the movie. So I feel that the editing went wrong, and you're not clear that he's actually reliving those moments. and it wasn't because
a
it was
confusing
reliving.
movie. You're
Yeah,
saying
it's a confusing movie until you get it. So the first hour and a half of the film, or I'm sorry, like first hour of the film, it's very confusing, but it's. I think like you guys should just watch that film.
We'll watch it.
And
you
then,
know, it's got a 5.9 on IMDb, so it's not generally liked.
It's not
very
generally
much.
liked.
But
Yeah.
some people must like it to even get it up to a 5.9.
I voted it like 17. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, cool. Well, there's that.
All right.
Let's move on to Neil's list, because you know this is going to take 4 hours.
Accounts. Okay, now with the podcast.
Honorable
can
mention,
actually start.
Babylon AD.
Oh,
Wait,
you're full of it.
honorable mention, Babylon AD.
Okay.
Oh yeah, Babylon.
All right.
Vin Diesel. He's made some good films.
Yeah, we're going to Babylon about it? Get it? All right.
It's so funny.
Oh, my God. Punch myself in the face. Okay, go ahead.
All right. I'm trying to pick see which one.
Oh, my God. Just go with the original list. Don't fucking...
No,
pull
I
a
haven't
goddamn
changed my
Houdini
list. I'm
like
going
this
with the
guy.
original
Hey,
list. I'm
so
trying to
I put
decide
the-
what to like start with. So I'll start with the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Ah.
So, have you
also
guys all
known
seen
as
this?
the prequel to Van Helsing. Just kidding.
Van Helsing was actually going to go on my list. I like that movie.
Dude,
Anyway.
but they also, like, the Jekyll and Hyde in there was, like, exactly the same in both movies. It was very strange.
Yeah.
The Jekyll and Hyde
Oh
character,
yeah, you're right. Except the CG, it was like
very
heavy
similar.
CG.
It was
But
very
it was very
similar.
similar. The CG was the same
It
in
was
both
less
of them.
CG. It was more prosthetic.
No, it was
he was
that
wearing
big-
a bodysuit and like prosthetic
No, it was
makeup.
CG. Look it up.
I've watched the making of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. It was like prosthetics.
Yeah, but you don't even know.
Okay, here we go.
What?
All right, go
made
ahead.
no
I
sense.
fucked up on this Rennie Harlan doing Predator 2 earlier, so I'm like really gun
You're afraid.
shy. I'm
Yeah.
gun shy right now.
Oh, wait, so has everybody seen it? Have you seen it, Spencer? Spaceship?
Yeah, I actually really like it. I love that the crossover of all those literary characters. I do know it was Alan Moore, right, who wrote the original comic?
Yeah, I was based on a graphic novel or comic book series.
Yeah, and I know that he probably just hates every movie version of anything he's ever done, just because it's so hard to adapt.
Yeah.
Those any comic book of length or of importance or depth into a blockbuster movie. But I remember this and I thought it was good.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah.
You don't love it.
I remember. I don't know, for some reason I can't remember what it was about the film that I really liked. I mean, I've always liked Sean Connery, like in everything he's done, but I think in many ways, like you watch this movie and Sean Connery was very old at the time that he made the film. I mean, he was must have been in
his last movie,
late
isn't it,
60s,
before he
early
retired?
70s.
I think it was his last film.
Was it the last one
Before he
did?
retired, I think it was his last film.
And it's crazy
I
because
think.
he's doing action shit. He's running down the street. He's like fist fighting with dude. I mean, it's like it's like watching Harrison Ford in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull like fist fight somebody. But like I love that it was like, and the way the film ends with the significance of Sean Connery as an actor, an action star, like
right.
kind of the way they end. I really liked. Kind of like that homage to like the old lion, like dying off or something, like that whole thing. Like I really enjoyed that.
Right. Real quick, I was looking up this Mr. Hyde and the League of Extraordinary. No. It says if you've seen the film, you probably would have thought it was CGI enhanced, not a cleverly designed costume, but it actually is a costume.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. If you watch that,
That's what I
he
said.
looks.
That's
yeah,
what
but
he
you-
said.
yeah, but I get it.
No, Nick,
I know, you're right.
Nick,
God,
you're not
give
doing
him
well.
props,
All right,
man.
well, just
You're
speak
not doing
normal
well.
English. Say, Neil, you're right all the
Yeah,
time, forever, and to infinity.
Neil, I can't do it. I can't. Literally, my throat will not let me do it. All right. Anyways, you're right. I thought it was CGI because it looked like it.
Well, that's good. I mean, I guess
No,
in
that's
a way
not
that's
good.
a good.
Fucking
Oh.
shitty costume work. I'm just
All
kidding.
right, well.
I'm
It's a great costume.
I watched the behind the scenes, and the actor Jason Fleming, who plays Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde,
Yeah.
like he was complaining because he had to spend hours and hours in prosthetics every morning when they would come in to like make him when he was Mr. Hyde.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, and he was like, it was just like this whole time consuming thing that he wasn't into. He was
Right.
like, and then the behind the scenes. Anyway. It's one of these like it's just like a fantasy adventure where there's like like Huckleberry Finn shows up, or is it Huckleberry Finn
Really?
shows up?
I didn't
Tom
know.
Tom
Sawyer.
Sawyer.
Tom Sawyer.
Sorry, Tom Sawyer shows
Yeah.
up. Like it's just crazy. Like all these literary characters all show up in the same universe.
Yeah.
Moriarty shows up. Like
Yeah.
it's like it's just a
Is there
fun
an Invisible Man in
adventure.
there? There's Invisible
There
Man?
is
The
an
Invisible
Invisible
Man.
Man.
Yeah, it's Dorian Gray's
Dorian
in there.
Gray, that's right, yeah.
There's like hints of
Not Nemo. Neo.
Yeah,
Captain
Nemo.
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 Yeah, Captain Nemo.
Yeah. And
That fucking
in
fish
many
movie
ways,
got
they
me
all have like a
confused.
little twist on them. They all have like this odd little shift of what you think. Like the way they've been portrayed. Each one of these characters has been portrayed a little bit differently in their own individual kind of like films or
Right,
adaptations. But I loved it. And if the film itself has an odd style to it, I don't know if it's because of the budget that they had to like do things a certain way where they couldn't just rely heavily on like super expensive CG or something at the time. Like it seems like a lot of this stuff is they use miniatures. For some reason, it reminds me a lot of Fellowship of the Ring, which used a lot of miniatures and a lot less CG. And then as they went into Two Towers and Return of the King, it was like more CG heavy and less miniatures.
Right. Didn't they set it up for a sequel at the end of the movie? Like he rises
did,
from the
yeah.
grave or whatever?
Well, the shaman told Sean Connery that if he died in Africa, or Africa would never let him die.
Right.
So they bury him.
Literally.
They bury it. He as a spoiler, I guess, if you haven't seen it. Sean Connery dies.
Yeah.
And then they bury him in Africa.
Right.
And then at the end, the sky starts turning crazy and the ground starts shaking. You start hearing these tribal drums. Like the continent itself wasn't going to allow him to die.
Well, if that's his last movie, it's kind of a very apt way to end his last movie.
That's how I felt.
It is that's very interesting.
I mean, I didn't know it was going to be his last movie at the time, but
Yeah, and he went out with a bang too, because apparently like 1/5 of the movie's budget went to his securing him in the movie.
Oh, really?
And they paid
That's
him
awesome.
$17 million.
wow.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and with a budget of like 80 million or something like that. So it's
I think
crazy.
that's
Crazy.
correct. Yeah.
Worth it.
Okay, next movie.
All right, so yeah. So that was that movie. I mean, I don't know if a lot of people didn't like that movie or not, but I've had many people tell me that personally they weren't big fans of.
Yeah,
of League
I
of
know
Extraordinary.
generally it wasn't, considered a great movie.
Yeah, it doesn't have particularly great reviews, but I'll still watch it. Like I'll watch it tonight.
Yeah, it's got a
and
5.8.
enjoy it. Yeah.
5.8 on IMDb.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so my next movie is Congo.
Congo.
The film adaptation of the Michael Crichton book.
Yeah.
Congo. The book is far better than the film, I will say. Now, this is interesting. I really like this movie, and I don't know why. And I think that a lot of the performances in the film are bad. And I think it's a bad film in general, but I still like it.
Yeah, hey, the name of the podcast is Movies We Love, so...
You know what? The only thing I can say about this film that I like the idea that this group of people they go to Africa and they kind of stumble on this like ancient city where if you read the book is very, very interesting. It's a fascinating book about this like lost city of Zinj.
It was a top seller.
Yeah.
we call them bestsellers.
There's this whole concept, and
Did you really need to do that?
Yeah, I was fucking with you. Yeah.
There's I think what I like about this is in the story there's this ancient culture that would essentially use gorillas, and they would kind of breed gorillas to make them more aggressive towards people, and they used the gorillas to protect essentially these diamond mines where they were mining diamonds for King Solomon. They would get shipped, they would get dug out of the ground here, and then they would get shipped to King Solomon or whatever.
Right.
And they kind of stumble on this in the film and in the book, and you just start to learn this history of this ancient culture and how they kind of used gorillas to essentially be like this threat, because a lot of people don't. I mean, gorillas can be scary, but they're not known to like kill people or attack people in general. They're not like they're vegetarians. They're not meat eaters, and so even though they could literally snap a human in half if they wanted
Or rip
to.
off your arm and beat you with it.
Yeah. It's like a silverback gorilla. It's like insane. Like they're just walking muscle.
Right.
It's ridiculous. But I don't know. Maybe it was the special effects of like there was an actress who played the gorilla in the film, and she was in this prosthetic kind of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle suit the whole
that's
time.
right.
Yeah, and when I saw that film, part of me thought that was like, I was like, is part of some of these real and some of these false? Like it looks really good, because I didn't like, and it wasn't until I actually went to the zoo and I saw a gorilla up close that it really hit me how real that gorilla was, because I thought when I watched the movie, I was like, oh, that looks so fake. Like, no, the skin doesn't look like that. And then when I saw a real gorilla, I was like, oh shit, that's what gorilla skin looks like. This is crazy. It's kind of this like leathery skin. It doesn't look like human skin. But
this was supposed to be kind of like the next Jurassic Park.
in
right?
a way, yeah. There
Not
were all
that it
these-
was, because it was a Michael Crichton book.
There was a lot of interest in
Frank
in
Marshall,
adapting
who's the famed
Michael Crichton,
producer. Frank Marshall, who produced most of Spielberg's films, or a lot of them at least. He's a producer. He directed a couple films as well.
Yeah.
Alive, Arachnophobia. He then directed this one, and it kind of was like one of his last directing ventures, I think, because it just did not. It got 5.1 on IMDb. Like generally, it was panned.
Yeah, I just there's some really cool set pieces in this film, like especially towards the end. There's there's this volcano and it starts to erupt, and there's some cool set pieces where they're kind of like running down through the jungle and the ground. There's some cool stuff that they've done, but I don't know. It's weird. I can look at it like objectively and be like, this isn't a good movie. Like Laura Linney is not good in this movie. Ernie Hudson is really good.
Hey.
The lead actor, I forget what his name is. The guy from
Dylan Walsh.
Is that his name? Dylan
From
Walsh
Nip
from
Tuck?
Nip Tuck.
Yeah.
He's not particularly great.
Tim Curry.
Tim Curry does this outrageous accent the whole movie, which I love, but I love it because it's humorous, not because I take it serious. Like
Right.
I think he it's like really hokey.
Right.
But I don't know.
You love it. You
I
love
love
it. I
this
get it.
movie. I can watch it over and over again. Like
I haven't seen it in a
it's
long time. I
crazy.
saw it when I was a kid in theaters.
I
did go
also
see
saw it in
yeah.
theaters. Maybe some about it.
Dude.
It impinged on me, and I don't know what it is.
They were running this whole Congo diet or Pepsi campaign thing, like a
Oh, yeah, that's
instant win
right.
thing with Pepsi
Yeah.
at the time,
Yeah.
and I won. For some reason, I bought a Diet Pepsi. Don't ask me why. I bought a Diet Pepsi, unscrewed the cap, and took off the wrapper around it, and I won a Congo trip. As part of this
What?
fucking movie, yeah. You know what? But I was in this cheap ass fucking deli in New York, and it had expired like a month earlier. I was drinking expired Diet Pepsi with a promise of a Congo trip, and they were like, "Nah."
I blame New York. That's
did.
classic New York.
They dick you at every corner
They do.
for money sometimes.
So I actually remember reading the book first, and the book, it's a good, good Michael Crichton book. It's got the tension, it's got the doses of humor, but the movie, I don't know. It's weird when you come to a movie from the book because it changes
That's
the
hard.
flavor of how you
Yeah.
approach it. It's a hard transition.
Yeah.
Because it's so over the top. And I just, on the heels of Jurassic Park, the fact that they couldn't just take their time with it, they wanted to just pump out another movie. I think they could have really made sure that the effects work was. Jurassic Park holds up. It's based on a Michael Crichton novel as well, and it holds up years later. And I just don't think that Congo effects-wise holds up. And then just the tone of it is so campy. And doesn't anybody remember Planet of the Apes? Didn't they?
With Mark Wahlberg.
The Tim Burton one?
Yeah, with Planet of the Apes, I feel like just the concept of the intelligent primates and things like that. I feel like Congo didn't do enough to set itself really apart, or I don't know. Maybe there's just too many gorilla movies.
Yeah, too many gorillas.
I'm thinking in the 90s, all these, and early 2000s, all these gorillas start to blend together, where you have Congo, Mighty Joe Young, and then the Michael Clark Duncan character in Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
And it just kind of, for me, it didn't do enough to really stand out, I guess. That's probably why I'm thinking of all of those as one long movie. But I don't know. What
But
I'm at a loss
Neil
for
loves
words.
it. But Neil loves it.
Wait.
Which is I get it because I actually don't have any negative associations with that movie other than the failed Congo trip win. But other than that, I enjoyed it when I was a kid and I watched it, but I haven't watched it as an adult. So I'm not
I've watched
sure.
it when that movie came out on Blu-ray. I was the first one to buy that movie.
I need to rewatch it.
It's I don't know.
Somehow
what it
in
is.
my head, I associate that movie with The Island of Dr. Moreau because they were.
I did not
Yeah.
like
Oh,
that
yes.
movie.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
my! And I saw that, and I was a kid in theaters or whatever, and that movie was fucking weird. And I just remember it just was almost unsettling in a way.
Yeah.
And they came out around the same time period. For some reason, in my head, I always put those two together.
that as
Yeah.
well. I agree. It's these jungle adventure movies.
Yeah.
That was kind of the trend or whatever.
Yeah, and they were weird.
That
They were
time period.
weird.
Hollywood became a monkey
Yeah.
phase.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so Neil, what's your last one?
Last film. Hit us with a good one.
Well, so I did want to make one more
course you do.
comment on.
Why not?
Of course you do.
Take your
Go ahead.
time.
We have all the time in the world.
Yeah.
So if anyone who's listening to this podcast has probably gathered, we've commented on this a few times, but like music in film actually has a huge impact on me. Like there'll be a lot of films that I'll watch, and if the music really connects with me, then my like affinity for that film will go up like significantly. Like
Right.
if the music is like really I don't know, like assists like a scene or something like that. Like it just really stands up. Like when I think of some of my favorite films, I think of like Jurassic Park or Back to the Future or some of these films. Like I love the music. Like if I hear that music, I'm like back watching that film in my mind.
drives
I'm
you.
like,
Right.
like, it's such a significant part of those films. With like the acting and the special effects and like the story, all of that aside, like the music in itself is like its own. I would say it's like 50% of like every movie is
Right.
like if there's the music. So
the music was by Jerry Goldsmith.
Jerry
So-
Goldsmith.
Yeah. Did Alien?
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
I realized
Star
that
Trek.
like there's a bunch of films that Jerry Goldsmith scored that I fucking love that I don't think are particularly incredible films like acting wise or story. Like I mean I love this movie, The Burbs.
Right.
Music was done by
did
Jerry
you do that?
Goldsmith.
Oh, I love that.
I love that movie.
Yeah, I love that movie, yeah.
I can watch that movie over and over again. Congo, music by Jerry Goldsmith. Powder.
I love Powder.
Jerry
I
Goldsmith
love
did the
Powder,
music
yeah.
to
That was
Powder.
so good.
Like, I mean, Powder is a fantastic movie, but like I just for some reason it's the music takes it to another level. Like there's
especially
you
that
know,
end scene. Yeah. Oh,
yeah, and I'm like,
that
that
was
was this
really good,
realization I had about because I was like, I would ask myself,
Ghost
like,
in the Darkness.
why do I like Ghost in the Darkness? I'm like, I love the music in that movie, and it like really kind of like makes the film better.
He's a classic composer. Like
Yeah.
he's up there in those James Horner, John Williams types. Absolutely.
Yeah. And like, anyway, I just had this realization that like all these films that I'll watch, and they're films that I'll watch like repeatedly. Like I'll watch these movies over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And they just end up becoming like these weird staples of like, if I don't have anything to watch, like I'll just put on Congo.
It's so funny.
Like to go to sleep or something like that.
Yeah.
But like, and I realized it was the composer. Like
Right.
all these films, like The Burbs, I've watched probably 1,000 times.
Right.
Like Congo, I've watched a couple hundred times at least. Like,
Crazy.
Anyway.
Wow.
That was an interesting observation that I
Nice.
had.
So what's your next Jerry Goldsmith movie?
He got me subliminally.
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 We're rooting for you.
Are we supposed to do a drum roll?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we should do a drum.
Oh yeah.
Oh, is this my last movie?
He's a musician. He can
I
actually
haven't
do a
even
real
come
drum
up
roll.
with like additional ones, which I should add to my list.
No, we do not.
All right, so my final film, which I feel like shouldn't even really be on here because it's like an amazing masterpiece.
Oh God.
Good
There's
sell.
The Chronicles of
Wait
Riddick.
for it.
The Chronicles of Riddick.
Chronicles.
Wow.
Of Riddick. Okay.
What
okay.
was that noise?
I mean,
I love this movie. I don't know what it is. Like I love.
yeah, it's no Pitch
I
Black.
love the necromancers, like the those characters. I love Thandie Newton. I think is fantastic in it.
Is it
Judi Dench is
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah.
She's great. I love the the extreme science fiction of it all.
Yeah, the guy from.
I like all the the worlds that they go. They go to like 3 or 4 different planets that are
Yeah.
so wildly different
Yeah.
in this film. Like there's so many things about it that
When they
I
go
like.
to find him, and he's
And
on
I
that
like-
planet with the beard and shit.
Yeah.
Does he have a beard?
No.
Does he? Oh, in the
No,
beginning.
that's a-
Yeah, when
In
they
the
go to
beginning,
no, when they
planet,
go to
in the
find
ice
the ice
planet.
Oh, yeah, that's true, yeah.
He's
Yeah,
like
he does.
There's like the mercenaries
and he's
that
like,
are trying
I
to
need
find
shave.
him.
It doesn't say that, but he effectively they should have had a transition scene where he like grooms
He's
himself.
got like the glowing eyes and stuff. I liked it. I like the anti-hero. I like anti-hero
Yeah.
movies. Like, and he
I
plays
love that
an
film.
anti-hero.
I love. I think DVDs.
I actually
not
own
Blu-ray.
it. I do own it. It's the
I own
only
all
Riddick
three.
movie I own.
Oh yeah.
I own all three.
I think I got it in a bin for like 99 cents.
Okay. Don't be
and it was
that guy.
attached to like Material Girls or the Sleepover.
You got Spice Girls. It was
Spice
like
World.
Girls.
It was Spice Girls live in London, and then Chronicles of Riddick
Chronicles of
attached to
Riddick.
it.
It was the duo.
No, here's the thing, and that is it's an entertaining movie. It is. I think it's the only Riddick movie that was PG-13.
Yeah.
So it did feel like more commercially acceptable, but like a little watered down compared to the other ones. But it was an enjoyable movie.
I mean, the guy who directed it also wrote the story, and I think he originally envisioned it as a trilogy of films, and then this was the beginning, and then they were going to go to...
No, that's like this. That's after Pitch Black.
Yeah.
So it's
no,
Pitch
Pitch
Black?
Black wasn't like part of the trilogy.
Oh, okay.
Like there was the Chronicles of Riddick, and then there was going to be like a part 2 and a part 3 that were going to wrap up that story.
They did do Riddick later on.
Well, the movie, you don't remember how the movie ends, like where he
yeah,
becomes,
he's a king or whatever. Like, yeah,
yeah,
it's
you like
end
you
of
keep
that.
what you kill was the mantra.
It's
of, like,
very
the
Conan the
society.
Barbarian ending. Like he's on the throne.
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah.
And
There was
he-
also an animation.
Lord Marshall.
Yeah,
he
there was.
kills the Lord Marshall.
Of course he
And
does.
I also played the video games, which were fantastic. Fantastic single player.
Really?
Story-driven games. Yeah, there was a game, the Chronicles of Riddick game, Escape from Butcher Bay,
Yeah, I just saw
which
that,
was
yeah.
an incredible game. It came on the original Xbox.
Yeah, that's my favorite bay to escape from, by the way.
Butcher Bay.
The Butcher Bay, yeah, it's
Yeah,
my
yeah.
favorite. Yeah.
Is it?
You don't want to escape from any other bay other
Right,
than Butcher.
but then they did Riddick later on.
I wanna
I
know-
don't really
okay.
know the connection between all the films. I don't really remember like what it was, how it was supposed to be. Chronicles of Riddick's the one I remember the most. Actually, is Chronicles
So
of Riddick.
Riddick. So you have Pitch Black, which is like this thing that occurs, and it's low budget kind of indie film.
Yeah.
It's all right.
I think it's well-
good,
it's a
great
good
film.
movie.
Yeah,
I
it's one of
enjoyed
the
it.
great-
Yeah, yeah.
It was the best, one of the best ones from the series of the storyline.
It's better than the one you love.
I think it proved that
What
like
he's trying to
David
say.
Swoohey could like direct,
Yeah.
and so that got producers were willing to put up more money so that he can make a bigger budget
Right.
film. I really liked Chronicles of Riddick, and then they came out with Riddick, which was kind of like
It's only a few years ago now. a couple
Yeah,
years
if you
ago.
watch that movie, like the first few minutes of that film, kind of like acknowledge Chronicles of Riddick's existence,
Yeah.
and then just like push it on. They're like, all right, well, we acknowledge that this is the same guy from that movie.
It's like giving somebody a
Now
lifetime
here's a
achievement
new
award
movie.
and never giving them another role.
Yeah,
in the movie.
it's weird. I mean, it's definitely included in that universe, and the way Riddick ends definitely ties back in. It was almost like so much time had passed between the release of Chronicles of Riddick and Riddick that they were like, oh, the audience doesn't know who this guy is, so we need to make a film that reintroduces this character so that we can then bring him back and do a Chronicles of Riddick 2. But then I don't think Riddick did that well.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Well, Chronicles of Riddick,
Limbo.
after I think the success or lack of success of that one, they kind of scrapped it. And then Vin Diesel, his star was kind of fading, and then it kind of rose again with the Fast and Furious reboot kind of movies they were doing, where they kind of took it in a different direction.
Yeah.
And he started being, quote unquote, famous again, or like a drawing power, so then they gave him another Riddick movie to do.
I think he wanted to do that more than any
Yeah,
other
he
film.
pushed
It was
for
his
it.
Deadpool.
I think some of it,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm correct on this or not, but I think he actually helped fund
Probably
that
not.
film.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Probably not.
because it was probably not what, Nick? What do you have to say?
You just-
Because you've been
just-
wrong so much this podcast.
It's true.
What-
I shouldn't be talking
You should
shit
not.
right now.
Yeah.
I feel,
Yeah.
I feel weak.
You feel
and
weak.
cowed. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You keep talking. I'll
It's,
shut up and stay in my corner.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I mean, it's one of those, like, to me, it's, if you never saw it when it came out, you should definitely watch it. It's one of those, I mean, I saw it in theaters and I've watched it hundreds of times,
Yeah.
at least hundreds of times. I just really, I like well done science fiction, and to me, it's a very well done, like the world feels real.
Yeah.
Like, and they throughout the 2 hours and 20 minutes or however long the film is, like they go to so many different locations. There's all these different alien races, and the way they portray like kind of like civilized worlds and all that. It just feels very like, like I could see this. I
Right.
could see
So-
this. It
Right.
doesn't feel hokey or goofy. And there's all these different religions.
Right.
As they go to different planets that have their own thing. And it was like almost like this one group was like, they'd show up, wipe out everybody, and be like, "This is the new order."
Yeah.
Real quick,
They were,
Hollywood
it was a better
Reporter.
first
That's what they
order
did,
than
yeah.
the first order.
Real quick, Hollywood Reporter wrote an article that said Vince Diesel risked
Vince
all
Diesel.
for Riddick.
Wow.
If we didn't finish the film,
Now, this is Vince Diesel. This is not Vin Diesel.
Vince.
You said
Did I say Vince?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's
Keep
Vin
going.
Diesel. Yeah. Anyways, he said if we didn't finish the film, I would be homeless.
Wow.
Yeah, that
Or Chronicles of Riddick or Riddick.
Riddick.
the next one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did
So
that do well?
But
That
that's
must have made money.
It didn't do
then.
very well. It didn't do very well.
But it probably made
but
enough
I
money
knew
back
that
to
he
give him
invested.
money.
He invested a lot into
that-
it because they didn't want to do the film.
It's okay. He had
That
like
must
40
be
other
hard.
Fast and Furious movies in his pocket. He'll be fine.
But it must be hard to be an actor and like have this like passion project that you love and you try to get made, and then it just like it doesn't. The audience
Yeah.
doesn't receive it well.
know.
But you like you're like, you know, you fucking love the shit out. You're like, no, this is it. This is like my thing.
Because what we don't get is the fact that it's a whole different world when it comes to an actor and a director being involved in the film than us just watching the film. I mean, there's a lot of investment that they go into it. I mean, we watch a 2-hour film where they invest almost a year or two into a film, into a project that they don't want it to fail, and that pretty much that's what happened, is that they were going to shut down production and Riddick because they knew it wasn't going to go the right way and they didn't want to invest anymore, and he stepped up because he wanted to. He leveraged his fucking house too. That's right. He leveraged his fucking house.
It's so hard for people to relate, because like in the you know, the everyday, you know, 9 to 5 world, people are like, nobody. I think most people don't think in terms of like, I spent 2 years on that project every day, 2 years of my life, 3 years of my life sometimes. You know, like. You think of like a film like the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Like Peter Jackson spent like 6 or 7 years of his life from pre-production to the final product, and then the extended editions and all that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
sure.
And like I spent like a day doing a thing, and then I finished it, and then I went on to a new thing. Right. Like I'm not spending years and years and years and years. Yeah. Like it's hard for the general public to like understand. I think that somebody can invest that much time and effort. In creation, you know, you're creating this thing. Right.
I've not seen these movies. I've not seen Chronicle of Riddick or Pitch Black. I'm curious. I have a couple of questions, though. I know we were talking about The Matrix earlier, and then the subsequent films, and then this seems to be where you have basically a sleeper hit, where a movie comes out, the first one, Pitch Black, and it does surprisingly well. It has a very modest budget in comparison to the subsequent movies. How do you think you should enter into it? Should you start from the beginning with Pitch Black and then go to the next?
I think you should just do it.
Yeah,
I would just do it chronologically. Yeah, just because I don't think there's any point not to.
Yeah, you can watch Pitch Black. Is not going to like
Star Wars too. Like,
it doesn't really set up. I mean, it sets up some stuff in Chronicles of Riddick, but not really. I mean, if you
know the character, basically.
Yeah, it basically sets up Riddick, the character.
Yeah, you learn more about him, I think, in Pitch Black than you do Chronicles of Riddick. Kind of.
You do.
Yeah. I think where Chronicles of Riddick failed, it was the fact that there was a lot of conversations about him being a Furian. But they never really showed or explained.
There
was
an extended edition that was released.
I have it. Yeah, I have it, and they really actually didn't do it in that. I mean, I love extended edition. I love when they tell you stuff like I love Prometheus, where you had 8 hours.
I almost put that on my list. Prometheus.
Yeah, did you?
I also
they have
almost put that on my list.
8 hours of explaining the whys and everything behind the film. But if people don't see that doesn't help the film.
Yeah.
But I think and that's how I feel about Chronicles of Riddick. I mean,
they were supposed to dive into the Furian. This is gonna he's like, what are we talking about?
Spacey's like, what the hell are we talking about?
They were supposed to dive into all that stuff in the subsequent films, because they were gonna do 2 more sequels, but they ended up just doing the one, and then they never really fleshed it out. I mean, maybe a little bit in Riddick. They kind of address it a little bit more. But.
Yeah, I don't think they did either. I love the series. That was one, like, I don't care how many people hate it. I'm with you on this. I love the storyline of Riddick. I love it. It's just a strong storyline. But I think they truly failed in storytelling when it came to who are the Furians, where does Riddick comes from, and all that. So
he comes from Furia.
His sister's Furiosa.
I've watched this movie so much.
Isn't his sister Furiosa from the Mad Max Fury Road, and that's how they actually connect?
Yeah, he's related to Tom Hardy. Yeah,
but I would definitely start with Pitch Black, and then
Chronicles.
It's a solid kind of like horror thriller.
There's a couple of things. There's like an animated film in there. There's like a short film in there somewhere.
Yeah,
there's like a bunch of.
There's a lot of there's these like little side stories that kind of like connect some of the missing.
If you watch it chronologically, it's still confusing as hell. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So Spencer, just pick one and watch.
They're all 3 are solid films. If you like science fiction, like action adventure science fiction, like these are all very solid, and I think Chronicles of Riddick out of the 3 is the best one.
They're 10 times better than Wing Commander.
It's just a very it's a very fun film, and it has some really great performances from Carl Urban, Thandie Newton, Judi Dench. There's just so many. Right. Yeah. God, what's his name? from They Live.
The black guy.
Fuck, what's his name? Keith David.
Keith David's
David's
Yeah,
in it. He's
Keith David.
fantastic. He's in both Pitch Black and
Chronicles.
Chronicles of Riddick. So it's great. It's a masterpiece.
It's not a masterpiece. And I'm surprised you didn't put fucking Masters of the Universe on here, by the way.
I was going to.
But we've talked
about it
talked to the
so
director of
much.
it.
Yeah.
We've literally talked to the director of the movie. It's like, what's the...
I know. That's how I felt. I did want to put it on there, but then I was like, we've literally spent hours and hours.
We sponged that movie.
All right, next one's going to be movies with a 1.2 or below rating on IMDb
that are
masterpieces.
Wait, what's IMDb of that rubber? That rubber movie?
Rubber film?
Yeah,
oh my
rubber.
gosh.
That might have a high I
don't know.
IMDb rating.
I'm telling you, if you love editing, if you love cinematography, you just watch that film. Rubber's great. I think we had some strong lists. I think my list was the most denied because basically I was the only person that watched the majority of my films.
Yeah.
So, but I had to be honest to what I love,
Wing
and I
Commander.
think that's what we all did. I'm sorry. Hey,
Hey, man.
Freddie Prinze, I had to give him one credit at least.
Do you?
Yeah,
Just
I
not
did.
in front of us.
I should have picked Super Mario Brothers.
I know, right?
Yeah, so there's tons of films out there we should have picked also, but we want to thank Spencer for being on the podcast.
Or
and-
Spacey. Or
Spacey.
Spaceship. We've had multiple
Oh,
personalities on
Antonio
the
Federico
podcast.
whatever. Yeah. So, but Spacey, tell us about some of your projects that you have going on.
Yeah, so currently I'm doing work over at Hit Record. So it's an online collaborative production company. It's an honor for me. I get to work with a lot of amazing artists who aren't in the industry, but want to get their work seen or heard by a wider audience. And just so you know, Hit Record is run by Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yep.
So I'm one of the audio curators, so I get to connect people with greater projects than they probably could have done in their own bedrooms. So it's a huge honor for me. That's an ongoing project that I'm involved in.
There's literally a picture of Joseph Gordon-Levitt wearing a shirt with your logo on it, isn't there?
Yeah, some people think it's photoshopped, but it's actually we sent some shirts over to their office, and people just started wearing them randomly in videos. So so it's my avatar on Facebook.
Yeah,
my profile picture is of Joe wearing a shirt with my logo
good promotion.
on it. So
good promotion.
Yeah. I just figured might as well go with that.
Yeah.
See what people think. In the current project that I'm really excited about, though, is my wife's film. She's been attached to direct a feature. It's called The Shelter. We've been here at Sundance actually volunteering, but on our own time, we've been going around trying to learn as much as we can about film financing and grants and partnerships. And I feel like things are looking up. So that should be shooting hopefully by the end of this year, and I'll be on board as a music supervisor.
Nice.
And and a few other roles as needed. Yeah. But that's the project I really want to give a shout out to.
Yeah, great script. It's I didn't write it. No. Neil's looking at me like, did you write it? I'm not just full of myself, just promoting my own shit. No.
Sure about that?
Who wrote it? It's like Bob Casso.
Bob Casso, yeah.
Casso, yeah, he wrote it.
So it's a great story, and we've got some great actors lined up for it. All we need is money.
Yes.
So we're in the process of making that happen, because obviously to get that above the line talent, you've got to have a way of making it work. They're like great scripts, but do you have the money? Obviously it's a business. You have to make it work. But I have super high hopes, and
nice.
So I'm really excited about that.
Great.
That's awesome.
We do too. Shoot. I hope you do well, and we'll help promote it on here at Get to the Podcast, and even our website at gettothemovies.com.
Yep.
Help you get some people out there.
Get the word out there.
Get the word out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we want to thank you for joining us here at Get to the Podcast. This is Get to the Podcast with the number 2. I'm excited. My name is Tiago de Souza.
You're excited. I'm Nick Gambino. You and you're excited. You're always excited. You don't have
I'm Neil Carson. I'm.
You're excited as well.
I don't know. Am I? I don't know. Maybe
I
a little
feel
bit.
uncomfortable being in a room with 2 other guys that are
What
excited.
kind of excitement are we talking about here?
I don't know.
All right, this is done.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.